Okay.
Okay, so Paul Richardson, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello everyone, thanks for coming. First of all, I want to thank these people here who have come and gone in their spare time, as you all have, to give you information which hopefully you find useful and important. Okay, anyone who's been home today would have received a letter regarding our draft pets policy. Please take time, if you want one, ask me for one. I'll get it delivered, emailed, anything you want. We'd like to get your feedback. And we do have copies here, if you want them. White rack in the tower on the ground floor is in the process of being removed. We haven't done it straight away yet because you'll find out why when I come onto the recycling area, which hopefully you'll find useful. Our recycling team, I spoke to them. You remember last time we said the recycling area is a public one? Yep. Now it transcends, it's an estate one, which means we can move it. So we're looking to move it into the car park, into a suitable area, which means no rust sleepers, no one using the area for urination and other unsavoury things they do. We can then make that parking again or block it off and use that as extra storage for the estate. So where we're thinking of moving it to, you know when you go into the tower on the ground floor car park, either side of there, which means the bike racks will have to be moved to a more suitable area in the car park. But hopefully, you may agree, it will be beneficial to move the recycling area away from where it currently is, because it's there. So that's a positive. Ooh, rough sleeping on the estate, hot topic. I'm sure that the police we have here, Luke and John, and also Joe, who's from Broadway, will be able to expand on that more than I can and give you more of an insight into what we're actually doing.
Are you covering the fire door though?
Yes, I'm covering the fire door. I can't miss the fire door. It's the bane of my life at the moment, as I'm sure you're all aware. You asked for CCTV on the estate? Extra. Henry Jones has sourced some money, so we're currently funding the CCTV and getting contracts in place and going to put equipment in.
Is there going to be a consultation about the placement of it before you do it?
I don't believe there is, no, because we've kind of had a look where we think it will be best in conjunction with the police and also our safer neighbourhood. But if you'd like us to consult with you, we can. It just means it may extend it a bit more rather than putting it in quickly. But we can consult if you want. What do you think?
We would normally consult on where to position CCTV cameras.
I'll let you know how many cameras we've got.
Paul, can you tell me why the shutters to the garage are tied up?
I will. Yep, I'll come on to that. If you don't mind. If I don't come on to it at the end, we might
They
do.
were working last week
I'll let you know why.
and Friday they were tied up.
I'll let you know
That's
why.
lovely.
Let me go through. Any questions? Fine.
So just for CCTV, so would residents appreciate having, so if we put out a letter perhaps telling you where we propose the sighting of the cameras to be, would that be okay, and then you respond to that? Yeah.
I'll get it at the end of this week and say what 2 week closing period so we can get things moving. Yeah? Okay, great. Ramp removal project, I think has gone well. I know a few of you said it doesn't kind of look how the pictures envisaged, but I thought it did, so I'm a little bit confused with that. But we've got Victor and Daniel, I think, setting up the computer, so they'll be able to explain that in more detail about what we can do in the future as well. Do you remember who's going to get power assisted doors? Yeah, so it's going to be at the base of the tower onto the podium and also White Kennett Street. Power assisted doors, so it's going to be on a podium level into the tower and also White Kennett Street. We haven't forgotten, it takes a little bit longer than we thought, but I met with Lachlan and the contractor on Thursday, 5th of February. Got everything in place, we're just waiting to hear back from them with the pricing and we'll go ahead and do it.
That's right, exactly what Paul said. We've appointed Conchero to have a look at retrofitting the power assisted door openers and closers to the doors. I'm just waiting to hear back from them. After that, they should give us an estimate. We then go out to tender on the work, so we're hoping it will go quite quickly. We are getting this partially funded by the Disabled Facilities Grant at the City as well. Sorry, Disabled Facilities Team at the City. So it is moving forward, and we will keep you informed.
What will happen with those doors as well, and I know this is something that Rochelle's concerned about, if you use your fob, it'll open and stay open for a certain period of time.
14 seconds.
If you leave your key, use your key, it's a normal door. So if you don't want it open all the time, you've got to use your key and open it, and in that way it will be a normal door you can open and close.
You're not the first button to close it, so you open it and then you press it and it closes immediately.
We could look to do that, but I've not
It's
seen anybody do
it's
it.
like you say 14 seconds is a long time.
Alternatively, use your key, we could look to do
Sounds
it.
to me like unless you need to using the key to
Yeah.
open
Does
it.
everyone have a key? Because, you know, in my flat, no, only 2 out of 3 of us do.
Okay, so that's
So we
something.
could also
Yeah,
do that.
not everybody
Okay.
has a key, like for the one at the base of the tower.
Talking about
By
the
the
doors,
door.
talking about the doors to the estate, recently I've seen the door in Middlesex Street, I've opened that without a fob. That means it's been opened.
Power assisted one.
No.
No,
Middlesex
the other one,
Street.
no, the one in Middlesex Street.
Okay, maybe door closed, we'll look at that then.
All right.
Okay, door closed.
Definitely.
Paul,
Now-
when you say white Kent, which one are you talking
Is that, is it white?
Gravel Lane.
Gravel Lane, sorry.
Yeah.
Gravel Lane.
about? Oh, brilliant.
Get confused easily, especially when you're in front of all you people, you get a bit nervous. Fire exit door from the tower to the car park.
Oh.
Yeah.
We got told middle of last year by a health and safety officer who came down, it has to be a two-way fire exit, because there's got to be a certain distance from any one point in the car park to where you can escape in the event of a fire. We don't really like that idea, because obviously it doesn't give you a great deal of security. So we've got Terence Short, a fire safety advisor, down to see if we can change it. He basically said the same thing, but we've got an issue at the moment in time with the ventilation in this building. They're doing some works. Once that's completed, he's going to come down again, see if we can do a bit of jiggery pokery with the rules and regulations and see if we can reduce the fire exit down to the car park so it's still safe for everyone who's in there, inclusive of you lot who are in there with your cars and may walk through and go in that area as well. We haven't got any good news at the moment in time, but things are moving along, and we are speaking literally every couple of days to our directors, managers, fire safety advisors.
Mary.
Well, the door usually has a lock on it, but not the outside one, the inside one. You know, that has been broken a million times and...
Yeah, that gives you entrance to the tower.
Right, now
Yes.
that usually is closed.
That's the door we're talking about. That shouldn't have a lock on. It should never have had a lock on.
Oh, right, because I was going to
Yeah.
say, a lot of us don't even have keys for it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's a problem.
we got into trouble earlier last
Yeah.
year, middle of last year, because apparently that should be a fire door and should open both ways. So, of course, that's caused us immense problems and
Yeah.
everybody else here with security. So we're working with
Yeah.
a fire advisor to try and find a way around that. That keeps, obviously, first priority has got to be everybody's safety.
Oh, absolutely.
But actually, you know,
Yeah.
we're desperate to solve this. We
Yeah.
really are.
But you have
So-
to realise that if a lock does go on it in
Yeah.
some way, you have to find out who's got keys.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
Because some
arrange it
people
at the
have
time.
keys and some people don't.
We've also thought about putting a lock on the inner door so they can access the stairwell only. But then that won't work because you need a quick exit if there's an emergency. You can't go to that door and look for the signs and go up and down. It just doesn't work. But we are on it, and it's not best case scenario. We don't like it either, but unfortunately we've got to wait and see how it goes.
Just a question, is part of the problem being caused by the fact that they built this
No,
in the garage?
no.
It's not affected the
It,
fire
it
exit?
shouldn't have been locked anyway from day one, from what we've been told. Because of the car park itself, there's certain distances.
But you can't walk this way anymore because obviously it's blocked off to the, what used to be an entrance coming out.
You can, the quickest exit to the left-hand side, if you're looking at it, is straight through to that one there. So you can walk through to it.
In the car park, you've
Because
got-
Yeah,
they-
you
There used
walk
there used to be a
around.
door by the side of the garage shutting.
Oh yeah, there still is one there, but
Well,
No, that's on the
in
other
the
side.
car park, you've got 3 exits anyway.
Yeah, but it's to do with distance. People more informed than me have told me to keep it open, and
It's
I'm
just a balance between our own health and safety and the fire.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you can imagine that we're in a position, if we've been advised something by a fire officer, it really is more than our life's worth to ignore that. So we're trying to find other solutions so that we absolutely protect your security,
Sure.
but we also protect your lives.
Part of the problem though is
so-
that because of the homeless coming in, they could be setting fires and doing anything and there's that becomes another fire.
So we're going to talk about the rough sleeping issue in a moment.
Yeah.
Can we, Andrew, is this about Paul's report?
About the fire doors.
Yeah.
If you move the fire door, you know, they're down a small corridor, each
Yeah.
fire door. If you move them to the other end, that would reduce the distance for the other door. So
Yeah.
that would
but
put
possibly
that.
we'll look at all aspects.
Yeah, we
of it.
will. We will look at that.
Yeah.
Because I always never understood why the fire door was down a corridor anyway. It should be at the other end of the corridor.
Yeah. Architects. Lovely. Now, unbeknownst to me, I'm on an antisocial behaviour working party, which was news to me yesterday when I went to a brainstorming session, but I don't mind because it means I'm best informed. I've learned all new policies and procedures to benefit everyone on the estates very quickly, hopefully. So quite a new things. This lady's very knowledgeable and I'm learning from her as well. What's your title?
Community Safety Manager.
Community Safety Manager, fantastic. Anything you want to know about antisocial behaviour and safety, the lady, but she's my contact, not yours at the moment.
Yeah, and Paula Wilkinson here, is helping us because we've got new powers under antisocial behaviour legislation. So we've just developed a new policy, and she's helping us implement all that as well. So
Very interesting, believe it or not, in social behaviour policy. Also, we had a staff conference Wednesday the 4th of February.
So
So
Is there any way the residents can get involved with the antisocial behaviour too?
I believe before the policy becomes enforceable, most likely involve people.
in terms of our policy, I think we've sent that out for consultation. I will check that though. I mean, clearly what Paul's talking about is an internal working group, and we couldn't allow other people, the public into that because we're talking about cases, so it's very confidential. I don't know, Paula, is there any kind of arena where residents can get involved in looking at issues like that?
Don't we have help?
Yes, and that's where we look at
Yeah.
the policy. I'm just thinking in terms of helping deal with antisocial behaviour generally. Are there any forums at the moment?
Not in terms of forums, but if you wanted to speak to me regarding a particular issue, we can arrange for that to happen. Yeah, because I'm not quite sure what it is that you're after at the moment, and maybe here isn't the right time to have that conversation. So if I leave Paul's got my details and he clearly has yours, so if we can arrange a separate meeting if that's okay.
If you need to contact Paul, let me know and I'll pass the details straight through.
Thank you.
You don't have to tell me what it's about because that's private to you lot, so just say you want the details of it.
So Marion mentioned the hub, that's the Housing User Board, which is basically a sort of virtual consultation panel of people who have said they'd be interested in helping us by commenting on new policies and things like that, and leaflets and things like that. So if anybody is interested in joining the hub, basically the commitment is that we email you any new policies we're looking at, we ask you for your comments. It's great if you email us back and you comment on it, but you have no commitment to do so, and we provide time credits for any time you put into it. So if anybody is interested in that, just let Paul know, and he'll pass your email address and your name on. Okay? Paul?
Last two things, number one, and then I'll go on to one that Ivy mentioned. We had a staff conference on Wednesday the 4th of February. Our very own Terry O'Donnell, sat at the back, was recognised for his contribution to the department. He received an award for commitment and dedication. It's got a nice little trophy with a little star on it as well. So,
Nice one.
as we mentioned, I was going to ask you to mention it. But going back to Ivan's point, the reason why the shutter's tied up is because it come off its mountings and ripped to pieces a little bit. So the contractors are waiting to repair it. I don't actually have a date yet, but I reckon a couple of days.
Shall I just go back?
It's one of those things that happens, unfortunately. So
The refuse, the recycling area was the reason those doors were put back in the first place was to allow the recycling for that lorry to come in. So can we not put them back to where we are? It seems that we lived here, a lot of people lived here for a long, long time, and one of the things we have a problem with is any crooks and crannies you make, people get into them. So if you don't put the doors back, it's going to be another entrance. Even if you put cars in there, people will come in and settle down and do drugs and whatever else they're doing there.
yeah, we could look to move it back. I can't say we'll definitely do it. It comes down to cost as well, and we'll find it wrong. But
I think that was the reason they were put back in the
I
first
believe it was the reason they
Yeah.
were back. And it's just a nice idea at the time, but it's created its own problems. So.
Well, in truth, I think if someone had asked us the question, it obviously does create a cubby hole for people to come.
I agree.
Just go back to that point, because you have to close in that side alcove anyway, you're talking about closing that in or adding extra storage space. That's going to have a cost. So that's got to be factored into.
Yeah, we all have to be factored into it. Yeah, definitely.
If we move the entrance outwards, it would be better. And also when you make that plaza area, that sort of bit inside there is very unsightly.
Yeah, that make it more of a straight line, wouldn't it? Yeah, we'll
Okay,
do that.
we'll get costings for that.
Definitely. That's all we've done.
Okay, I just wanted to add that we are acutely aware of security issues, and we have been looking at the possibility of additional staffing. Now, the problem with that is we can't spend, and I know this might sound wrong to you, but the fact is We are restricted in terms of what we can spend rent money on. So therefore, and something like security in a car park is not something we can spend rent money on. Therefore, we've been, just let me finish, because I might answer your question before you answer it. What we've been looking at is how we might be able to put in additional staffing, particularly at night time, to keep the car parking area secure and therefore the estate secure without the charges basically falling on either leaseholders or car park users, because that's, that we couldn't take it from anywhere else. However, so we think we may have a solution in that Henry Jones has been talking to, I think you remember the company time before last came to talk about a private members club that is opening nearby. They are interested in taking some space in the car park. Now clearly we don't want that to be at the expense of residents parking, but what we're looking to do, then if that comes off, and Henry's been working with them very closely and they've been talking to us, if that comes off, what we would use that money, that income, to pay for security, so pay for a nighttime attendant and so on. So we, it may feel like nothing's happening, but we really are trying very hard to address this issue, and we don't want it to be an additional cost on residents. We were getting to the point where we thought, well, we're just going to have to ask residents if they want to pay extra for it, but we knew that wouldn't be popular. Henry has, worked hard and could well have come up with a solution here. So fingers crossed that goes well. This company have expressed a lot of interest in working with the estate and being of benefit to the estate, and just listening to them, you keep an open mind. But I'm quite encouraged by what they say, and actually it's absolutely in their interest to have a crime-free, quiet, peaceful area. So I think it could actually be an asset to the estate in the end. Michelle?
Would it be a good idea to have the residents parking on the ground floor, as we did when the work was going on, and have people who have shops on the basement? Because we use it weekends, evenings, and it's too scary to be downstairs.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. It might well be, and so
Because it's
we can
huge
have a look
down
at.
there, it's a waste of space.
Yeah.
So
So
much
if we
space
can
down there.
reconfigure
Yeah.
to
You can look. I saying in the back of mine says that the shopkeepers have got something in a lease back parking on the ground floor there.
okay.
So
But we can look at that as well.
we can see if we can fit people in. We'll have a discussion on that.
Yeah.
Are we going to have keys fitted to the two doors down on that ground, on the basement one? Because you come down in the lift, then you can't come into the ground floor, into the basement.
Possibly. I think they were removed a while ago because they kept getting broken open, so it made it harder for you to
Yeah,
get
no,
into.
No, they've never
They've
been.
never had.
They've never. The
Oh, what did they?
two of them diagonally opposite have
Yeah.
keys if you go down into the basement and you can get into the car park. The other two
I've got a picture if you want to
have
see.
got nothing.
No, and I spoke to Belinda
So
about that
when
as
you,
well.
you come out of the when you come from the garage into the area where the lift is, if that lift isn't working, you can't get back into that car park. If you've got drugs people on that stairwell, you can't go up there. You are stuck.
Okay, I'll make a note of that, see if we can fit it.
Okay.
From a security point of view, I wanted to ask whether it was possible for the maintenance staff to have some kind of walkie-talkie. I gather that they used to, and then they stopped using them. One of the reasons I'm interested in this is that when the attack was on the jewellers up at Liverpool Street, and one of the robbers got into the car park here, and the whole estate was ringed off. My understanding is that a member of staff was actually not very far away from the robber who escaped, but he had no way of actually getting in touch with anybody, and certainly with the heightened international tension, obviously in government buildings there's a higher level of alert, and we are very close to the city.
Yeah,
And,
that's true.
and the government has said that it thinks it's only a matter of time before something happens in London. I think that our maintenance people should be able to contact the office just in case they see something untoward or suspicious while they're out on the estate.
Okay, we'll look into that. And clearly they have mobile phones, but maybe they need something more immediate.
More immediate,
Some of our
yes.
staff have SkyGuard devices where they can sort of call a switchboard immediately.
And for
So-
their safety as well.
Yeah,
in
no,
case somebody
absolutely.
had a knife or
Yeah,
something
no,
like that,
absolutely.
They could have used radio.
And members at a meeting just last week suggested that we look at sort of some kind of padded vest and
That's
clothing
something.
for, yeah, okay.
So, sorry, can I just come in on that?
Yeah.
If a member of staff or a member of the public encounter a situation like that and they have a mobile phone, it should be 999 straight away. There shouldn't be
Yeah,
another
so
option.
just
It's got to be
immediately.
We call
999.
999. When we give him postcode, they give us Metropolitan. They don't go to City of London. I've been waiting nearly 1 hour now and a half or 2 hours. I met many people, drug dealers downstairs and the thief people downstairs many times. Ask city police, give them my name. I can give you my name, my address. They know how many times I called them.
Okay, we are going to move on to invite our colleagues from the police to speak in a minute. So if we could just wait a minute for that, and when we finish Paul's item, and then we can move on. Mary, one more question.
Yeah, as I was coming down yesterday in the lift, it stopped at Podium and nobody was there, and it also stopped on the first floor, which is,
Okay.
I would assume now that that's defunct, that it shouldn't stop at the first floor at
Still
all.
sheds there.
Yeah.
Oh, there is still sheds there.
People still have access to that.
Oh, right.
Andrew, one more question on this. And
Sorry,
then,
we talked about security and staff. You've got a Facebook page. Could the photographs of the staff be put on, please?
yeah, I don't
Especially
see
the
why
temporary
not
staff-
unless it's an
especially the
identity
temporary staff.
issue. Yeah.
Well, because we have
Yeah, no,
temporary
no,
staff
no,
that nobody announces that we've got new temporary staff,
Yeah, no, I-
and nobody knows what they look like.
No, provided they don't object, I don't see why not. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Just one more thing about security.
Yeah.
I've noticed the last couple of weeks, on Saturday morning, the buzzer's going and they say post.
Right.
And the first time, no one came up to my door.
Oh,
So the
okay.
second time, they said post, and I said, who is it addressed to?
Yeah.
And they went blank. So
Okay.
just in case you do
Okay,
get that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Paul,
Yeah.
can you put a warning about that out
Yeah,
on
ask for names.
Facebook and through the estate? Thank you for Michelle. Right. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about security, clearly, and as you can see, we have a number of colleagues with us. We have Chief Inspector Hector McCoy here. We have Inspector Luke Harley on the end here, and we have John Zuber here. So I've lost track of which one's actually going to kick off and start
Well,
to
on the
speak.
agenda, it's got police update, and Sergeant Zuber informs me that he's got some crime stats which he's going to give to yourself, so I'll allow him
Great.
to do that.
Okay, John, over to you.
Okay, since the last meeting, there's been 15 crimes that have been attributed to this estate. And it's not by people living on the estate, but it's happened within the boundaries of the estate. Some of those are linked to the issues we've talked about already. The demolition of the ramp at the back has caused us some issues and caused us some crime, and also the security allowing people in has caused us some of the crime. And we've got 2 criminal damages. Both of those are linked to rough sleepers trying to get in, whereas before they came up the ramp and where they used to sleep, that got blocked off, and then they found themselves all of a sudden going through the doors one way and couldn't get back in and trapped, so they ended up causing damage to the doors to get themselves back out. Another big issue, well, perhaps the biggest crime we've had on the estate over the last thing is theft of pedal cycles, which was a bit worrying. But some of those we can link again to the security issue, because they went from the car park in the rack down, not just on the right hand side. We had a spate where a couple went from the podium level, which is a bit more unusual, and one was taken from someone's shed, a secure lock shed area. 2 bikes went from outside.
Sheds.
Having had the gates taken away from the podium makes access from the stairwells quite easy now.
Yeah.
For people to come in.
One of the issues they were doing, to all that getting in, was they're actually unscrewing the actual bike racks themselves from the floor. They come in with a set of pliers and unbolting the bike racks and then taking the bikes off, so residents were actually locking their bikes to it. They were like lifting up and escaping up. However, we've worked with the local councillors, and they've arranged, and they have been done because we've gone around and checked them all. They've all been spot welded, all the bolts have been spot welded to stop that. And since that's happened, we haven't had a bike taken from the racks there at all. we had one other theft, which was unfortunate. A brand new resident to the estate left her car in the car park. She was unloading and left her sewing machine next to the car while she walked to the lift, and somebody had that away again. That's down to was a time when the shutters weren't working, so it had general access in there. And we've had a couple of sort of like attempted thefts where people have gone in, and one in the storage area, we had a lock forced, but nothing was taken from the storage area. We've had another couple where the people have had to go at the plates. They haven't got in, but they've just sort of had to go at the locks and the plates, and caused a little bit of damage on that, so we recorded that. We've had one recorded harassment on the estate, and that sounds a bit bad, but what it was is a resident here kept receiving messages via the WhatsApp on her phone onto an account. So she doesn't know who sent them, what they're for, whether they're like targeted at her or whether they're a target. Somebody just got the wrong account number. But that's stopped, thankfully, so that's thing. And we've had 4 assaults around the estate. One was a domestic incident. One other was where a guest of a resident fell out with his host, and they had a little bit of a set to. A resident unfortunately got assaulted when they challenged somebody in the car park. He got pushed and kicked.
That's me.
Yeah. So again, if you see someone down there, you're not happy with them, we ask you, and I'll come on to this a bit later on, we ask you to call us at all times. We're here to come. We'd rather come along to the estate, but we do need to know at the time when to come. So we'd rather you call us immediately so we can come to the estate. And just one more, Andrew, I'll come to you. And the only other one was a dispute between 2 work colleagues over a parking space, so it wasn't linked to residents, and they had a little bit of a disagreement that came to blows over that. So they're the crimes that happened since the last meeting. And
well, the first thing was I asked Paul to reverse the lock on the car park on the first floor to prevent that problem going in one door and having it come in out the other one and breaking. Has that been dealt with?
No, I haven't done that one yet. Thank you for reminding me.
There was another one that I didn't hear reported. Following on, I was witness to the incident with the gentleman over there who was kicked, and the police came eventually. Of course, by then he'd gone off, but he was quite a violent man, and I did see him. A few days later, I was coming into Petticoat Tower, came in the lift at ground level, I think it was, and at podium level, and he was already in the lift, and I didn't realise. I just sort of walked in as I normally did. He saw me and recognised me as being the person who had witnessed the other incident. He got out. No, that's right. It was in the ground level. He got out at podium level. So I went back up. I'm on the 10th floor, and immediately phoned the police. I then looked out of my balcony window, and I could see this man wrenching, and there are, from where I live, I look over the community centre, and he was getting up onto the roof. The way he got up, he took the long bars that are on the top of the gate and wrenched them down, pulled them all down, got himself over, threw his bag over, and went up onto the roof. The police didn't arrive, but they did phone me back and said, "Is he still there? Can you look?" So I said, "Yes," and I gave a report of what he was doing at that time, which was observing the whole estate. He was looking over, taking note, and he was looking down over onto Armstead Street as well, looking down there. So I gave all that information. I said, "But can you tell the police when they arrive up that if they arrive in front of the library here, he will see you because he's looking down and round, and he will scarf her. And if you want to catch him, because he's already been involved in other incidents, don't drive up there." I then put the phone down, I then had a phone call back from the police, and this time it was the police in the police car. And they had no idea where Middlesex Street Estate was. They had no idea what Petticoat Square or Petticoat Tower meant. They didn't know when I said Harrow Place. They didn't know when I said Travel Lodge. They didn't know when I said Artisan Street or White Kennett Street. And I was trying to direct them to the incident, and I couldn't because they didn't understand the area at all, so what do I say? And eventually, they did come, and they parked right in front of Artisan Street Library. I then said, he's looking down, if you come round through, and I was directing as they were speaking to me. And I told them where not to go. Don't go over to the left because he'll see you. And what did? They were over down by the left and they were calling across one another. I mean, hopeless. The man saw them and the man scarpered.
It was disappointing.
The whole
policemen
thing
actually,
was
they
shocking.
ran up the ramps, which they can't do anymore, admittedly.
Yeah.
But they ran up, the police actually ran up the ramps.
Well, we
as
knew
if they were
that.
going, which was going to get them absolutely nowhere. It was because of a lack of knowledge of the area.
One thing was you missed catching someone who had attacked someone. Secondly, to have two police officers coming and they don't know anything about their patch, that is what really upset me.
Yeah. Shall we let our colleagues in the police comment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to respond to that. It is disappointing to hear that. I think you've hit the nail on the head as far as you said. It's regards knowledge, and if you've got officers that lack that knowledge of the local area, that is clearly disappointing, and that's obviously something I will feed back. It doesn't help the situation there and then. I absolutely get that, and it doesn't help that I don't know who those officers were. But in fairness to those officers, in fairness to them, they were probably new recruits, possibly, or transferees, and therefore they don't know the
Well, they
area.
couldn't understand English because I gave them very clear, straightforward directions. Even when I could see them, I was still giving directions, and they were sort of all over the place. They just they couldn't hear.
Were they Met Police or City Police?
Well, and there's the issue, because if it was a City of London Police, I'd be very surprised.
Or did you dial 999?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I'll be very surprised if they were City of London police officers, because they would only just come from literally 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's
distance.
what I was,
You'll
that's
know
where I
that.
was imagining.
And I'd be
them.
very surprised if they don't know Petticoat Towers. I'd be very surprised if they don't know the Travel Lodge.
Yeah.
Granted, you might not know the estate, the ins and outs, and the nooks and crannies. I totally accept that, but that's actually a key point. And I'd be very surprised if it were a City of London police.
So this
I
is the
think
point.
they actually did debrief with police, so I think the police will probably have these.
Yes, I did.
Right, okay. Well, I will look at with this, but the issue then is, the issue then for me is, okay, we've got that knowledge thing, perhaps, but the issue is that actually you had a perpetrator up on the roof, you were trying to guide people in, you were telling them not to go, and all the rest of it, and then he's probably gone away. So that's a key issue for me. Whether or not how we got there and how we probably dealt with it is another issue. And that's the bit that saddened me, is actually, if we were all attuned and switched on, we could probably have caught this individual, and then, we wouldn't be necessarily in this conversation. So I think that's the thing for me is, but I would safely say I wouldn't be surprised if they were Metropolitan Police officers, dare I say, which doesn't help you, which absolutely doesn't help you, but I would double check. John, could you make a note of that, please? Double check with Elise and find out what the situation is regarding that. If you said that you've spoken to Elise on that, on that matter.
Do you remember what date it was, just so we can make it easier to check our computer records?
Yeah, I think I can look it up.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
I'll have a chat with Elise. Elise is away at the moment.
Yeah.
She's at half.
If you, the incident that involved the other resident where I was witness and he was attacked in a car park, it was a few days after that, so that will give you a rough date. Because Elise was the one that attended that one with somebody else, with the first incident, and then it was about 3 days later.
I've got a number of hands, so I know Sue, you've had your hand up first.
Can I just say something on that point?
Yeah.
Initially, did you provide a statement on the initial incident with the gentleman over there? You provided a statement as a witness.
Yeah.
So we can track back from that. Now, seeing the person intrude and unfortunately get away because of the police response or lack of it, did you provide a statement on that?
When the person I spoke to over the phone said that they raised the alarm and that the police were on their way, and then questioned me, and I gave a statement over the phone about what had happened. We weren't under pressure of time then because it was being dealt with. So I presume that's what you mean.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't write anything down.
No, okay.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, we can talk after this meeting, because obviously you've seen the assailant return to the area of the crime, and you're able to identify that person. So what I would like to do is establish a bit more from you.
I've actually got photographs of him upstairs.
Fantastic. So we can liaise with the CID regarding this assault.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got a victim of crime over there, a gentleman over there, all right? And I'll look into that myself, okay? We'll look into that and basically get your details and make sure everything's brought together. I know there's a number of hands in the room. I just want to say, introduce myself. Recently started in community policing from a response background. I've been in post for 3 weeks, okay, and what I find is very, very promising here is the level of communication in the room, okay, because already by coming here today we are getting a lot of information regarding certain crimes, instances that we haven't received up until this point, so the awareness is good. Okay. Everyone knows the community officer, I believe, Elise Eaton, Phil Taylor, and they're here regularly. And you've got a good direct contact with those officers, I hope. Okay. Everything. Sorry. Okay. In terms of the information, it's extremely important that flow continues. That information flow continues. And I like the idea of this housing users board and the Facebook page, and we can keep the information flowing. Obviously, if there's a live incident, as the gentleman got assaulted, please did the right thing before 999, okay? So that we can deal with it appropriately. Whether that was Metropolitan Police or City Police, personally, I would suggest it would be Metropolitan Police, given the lack of understanding of the area. But I'll look into that personally, if you want me to do that. Okay? I'll look into that myself.
If you phone the 999 and give where you are, perhaps a postcode or something like that, they can't see which police area it's in.
If you telephone 999, it will go direct to New Scotland Yard, who will then look at the call and patch that through to the City of London. Okay? And someone's already raised about time delays. Okay? Now, depending on the postcode given, the information given, it may well,
a problem, because where E1,
it may well respond to a Metropolitan police service. Okay? And that's something I will look into. Okay?
So if we find 999, can we have the City of London?
You can certainly say that. I believe that would be a very good idea.
Okay. So can we also put that out in a weekly bulletin, or just so that everybody, because obviously we've got so many people here, but lots of people not here, would welcome that advice. Right, I'm going to try and catch all the people. So Sue, you were first, then the gentleman over there, Andrew, and then that gentleman. So Sue.
Tonight, at 7:15, I was outside my flat having a cigarette, and I asked two people, two young people, a man and a woman, blonde-haired woman, pale sort of black person with dreadlocks, casually dressed, were trying to climb on the roof and trying to climb onto the roof about where my flat was. And they asked me if they were way onto the roof so they could gaze at stars.
The fellas in the lift. She was in the lift when we got in the lift, and he came running down the stairs, and
he said a kind woman looked him in.
It stopped on the first
Young
floor.
blonde girl, pretty, and he had dreadlocks.
Yeah,
and she got out, and they ran down the stairs.
I've seen them before.
Okay. Can I suggest that anybody who needs to report something, just colleagues, is somebody going to be able to stay to the end? Right, okay, so if anyone needs to report something and they haven't already done that, please just hang on to the end. And so I'm just conscious we've got lots of people,
Can I finish, please?
Yeah, of course.
And they actually told me that a kind woman, a kind lady had let them in so they could look at the stars.
It's okay. We do ask residents not to do that, obviously, and we constantly remind them of that, but another reminder. Gentleman over there, I think your hand was next.
Couple of questions, interrelated questions. One, the community officers you're talking about are the ward officers, I presume. I think maybe they have to go around to residents every now and then to remind them of the phone numbers, etc. Because that information gets lost. And what their actual jobs are and what their responsibilities are.
Okay.
For example, a thing like that, it might have been more sensible to call one of the ward officer rather than call 999.
Well, certainly so.
The other thing is I was
Certainly
told
so,
actually to call Bishopsgate directly and not to call 999.
Well, if it's an emergency, then you call 999. If it's an absolute emergency, then you call 999, and that's what those numbers are there for. Okay, if it's something that's a slower time, then depending on what that is, then clearly you go through your ward constables, Elise and Phil Taylor. You mentioned you go through them. You have got Bishopsgate Police Station, and yes, of course you can ring that. I take it you've got numbers for that. Yeah,
but that might also be helpful to give out because I mean, in this situation, it would be much probably faster to call Bishopsgate directly.
And then you get a response, that way. Well, I mean, first thing for me, Bishopsgate Police Station is 24 hours.
The doors might be closed, but the police station, Bishopsgate Police Station.
Yeah, but if the door's closed, people think it's closed, they won't go in there.
It is open, and I assure you, it's a 24/7 police station. It's not.
We can do.
The issue for me, yes, the door may well be closed, but the station is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, absolutely.
Well,
So
then
if
you have to put something on the door.
So yes,
So they are open.
absolutely, but that's if you're going to walk in. That's if you're walking in, absolutely. But the station is open. Thing is, for me, is if you require contact details, then we can supply the contact details. And I've got to stand here now, and I've got to say I'm very surprised that you've not got contact details for your ward constables. Okay, and then equally for the station, and then obviously for 999 and the station over at Wood Street for control. Okay, that's something that we can fix straight away.
Could I suggest a fridge magnet, which then people can actually let loose?
Good idea.
Well, it should be put somewhere. It should be in prominent positions. I don't know where those prominent positions are. I don't know them very well. I'm sure that they are. But we can get.
Paul has suggested that we don't go to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. But we can circulate those numbers again, and that's a very good point. You know that you made. But you should all. You know, whether it be in your mobile phone or it should be out, like you say, on the fridge or something, you should all have, you know, our police number, Bishopsgate Police Station number, and also your ward constable's number, for sure, so you've got ready access to.
Okay.
Just on that point, I'll get that circulated on me, so. Right.
Yeah,
regarding fridge magnet, there might be a cost involved in that. What it may be worth doing is if we can get some posters drawn up and some emails sent out and get the information out that way. That will be done. I'll get it done immediately after this meeting.
Thank you. The other issue for me...
We've got a fridge magnet recently with the coat of arms and city on it and nothing else on it. So.
The other issue for me that I've picked up, having been sat here since 7:15 or 7:10, is there seems to be an issue around doors, security. We spent quite a bit of time talking about security and people, residents perhaps, leaving doors open. I think you'd all agree that there is an element of personal responsibility as well. And I'm not saying that no one doesn't take their responsibility seriously, but, you know, if people are leaving doors open and allowing other people to come through, you know, that's something that we can be able to control ourselves in the first instance, I would say. And I would always turn around and say, if we can control that by shutting doors behind us, then that's what we should do.
We can't stop
No, and I'm not saying that you can, but what I would certainly turn around and say is if we can control that, and if we are mindful...
The gate first, shutters first, because open 24 hours.
Okay.
So anyone can access easy for it.
Oh, is that the case?
They can get straight into the lift.
If you go the lift number 2, you find them downstairs, the people that using the drugs, they crack.
Right, okay.
Yeah, go upstairs now, you see them there.
Well, if I go there, says, well, actually, and one of the reasons why I'm here is that, you know, I was getting some information. Go on, Michelle, if that's what you wanted to speak about.
Well, talking about this lady, she didn't know about City Land Police or Met Police. When I called them last Tuesday evening, they came very quickly, and the perpetrators were crossing the road, and I said, I'll wait here, they're over there, go and arrest them. They just stood there and took my details. They turned left into Middlesex Street,
again, I'm disappointed, very
I'm
disappointed to
angry.
hear, you know, to hear that.
They were there with all the drugs on them because I watched them, took pictures of them. I even tried to keep them there longer by
Mhm.
talking to them. So when the guys arrived, they would be able to arrest them. And all they did was get out of the car and take my details.
Okay, Luke will follow that one. We will follow that. Hey, it's not helpful now, granted.
It was Tuesday
Yes.
at 9 o'clock on the 2nd of February.
Okay. Can we move on to some other questions? Because Andrew, you were next, and then the gentleman there.
Well, the point about phoning 101, and they get through to the city, you ask for the city.
Non-emergency.
Sorry?
Non-emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen drug takers
Yes.
camped out, it's not urgent, but you need to come.
Uh-huh.
So you stand there for 40 minutes waiting for the police to turn up, and you come
40
along,
minutes?
40 minutes, and you come back 4 hours later, and they're still there smoking the drugs.
Okay.
That's the worst example, it's not the only example, and I have video of that.
Right, okay. Okay, as Luke, the inspector, just mentioned, we've got 2 people who are constables for this area. What we need to establish is when is all this occurring, okay? I was given some times on when, you know, certain individuals are frequenting the stairwells and so forth. Okay, I can safely say that we've had officers around those times when we were told this is when it occurs, and during those times the officers have been there, they've seen nothing. Okay, they've seen nothing. So our response to what you have said is, okay, we'll get officers out there, we'll get them patrolling the streets, we'll get them patrolling the times inside the estates, the stairwells, where this drug taking is going on, okay? And obviously if we see them, then we will actually deal. Now, we've seen nothing, and I've got all the times and I've got the amount of officers and the resources that we've put to this, because it's obviously a major concern. Now, I'm not stupid enough, and I know you're not stupid enough to think, well, if you put a cop outside a premise with a bright yellow jacket like we've all just walked in wearing, then you're not going to see anything. People are going to disappear, okay? So what my team will do is that we will then instigate something where actually we're not all just wandering around, you know, with bright yellow jackets on. But that's an issue for us, that's an issue for the police. But what we need to establish for yourself at certain times. And that's something that we, as a matter of importance, will be looking at. Because I think you're all saying that people are dealing with inside the stairwells, you're seeing this. If we go there now, you say, well, I'm going to see people there now. But like I said, we've had active patrols around this area at the key times that certain of you have mentioned to me, and we haven't seen anything. I'm not saying that it's not happening. What I'm saying is that I will want more of that detail from yourself, and then I will look into that further.
Hey,
Okay.
two of your police officers
Yeah.
that arrived at my door last week to introduce themselves, they actually pulled the door open.
Right.
They didn't buzz.
Okay.
They said that the plates were not of good quality, but with a good bit of force, you can open those doors.
Okay.
And they proved it.
That, dare I say, is an issue for
Yeah.
for your good self.
Is that
They
the
came
front
round
door,
to me on
madam, or-
Tuesday the 10th,
What door was that you're
the
referring to?
downstairs on the Harrow
Downstairs.
Place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can the CCTV?
Sorry, I'm really sorry, but the gentleman at the back has been waiting
Nice.
patiently a long time.
Exactly what I was going to say was, if I have a problem, I ring 601 222 222. Is that still?
601 222 222. That's still that's our control room. That's our control room. Okay. That's not. But if it's an emergency, I mean, yes, you'll get through and you'll get a quick response. But rather than confuse everyone, that's another number that I want to remember. It's always 999. In the first, it's always 999.
So that's
Yeah.
right. That number after hours goes through to the corporation main switchboard. It's not. It's a general corporation number now. It's not a police number. So it's 601 2222. So again, we don't advise you to call that if it's an emergency because it goes through to the corporation switching number now. It's not a police number anymore. So if it's an emergency, dial 999. If it's not 101, I say you've got the. There is posters up because we went round the other day making sure because we have a new officer that's come on the estates to boost the numbers up, Mohammed Ali, who's come onto the estates as one of our new PCSOs, and we put his name up. So we looked at the posters, and we are sure there's aware there because I got a contact from the Metropolitan Police officer that came round the estate the other day and asked to speak to us as a result of seeing our posters up there. But if there's any missing, any stairwells that are missing, because I know I've had a nice hat on one time and a full beard on another time.
So they're not in any plastic surroundings or casing, I should say. They're not.
They are, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
But we're more than happy with that. But the drug issue we are aware of. Myself,
Where did it come from?
Miss.
This is since 2012, since the Olympic Games, and everyone's been coming into London. It's just a right, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Just
John, just on that. Rochelle, I hear your point. I hear your point, and I'm here today basically was to address that point. But I didn't expect so many people, so it's great that all of you come along. And just to compare what Luke has said, you know, it's raised a number of issues for ourselves. I want to use is this once a month? Is it 3 months? Right. Okay. So I will turn around and say that I will get back to you in response specifically to around those drug issues before your next meeting. Okay, absolutely before your next meeting. I understand, you know, that it's upset quite a lot of you, and I absolutely get that. You know, I absolutely get that, and you know, I will give you, and I don't often give guarantees, you know, but I will give you my guarantee that we are looking at that issue, and we will respond to that issue, and we will get back to you before your next meeting with some kind of response.
Because on Friday evening, when I was coming home, there was 2 homeless people behind all the recycling bins, and I was talking to 2 of the guys who were fixing the gates. And as I was saying, there was drug issues and that. They were coming towards me so close that I had to put my hand out and say, "Do not come any closer. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about other people. This isn't anything to do with you." And they were so angry, saying, "We're not drug takers." And I said, "I don't care what you are. You're not supposed to be here."
Well, my concern would be about your safety, and that's very brave of you, and perhaps some of you inside this room are not that brave, and I will definitely not advocate approaching people in that respect. What I would turn around and say is that if you see an issue and you're absolutely not happy with it, we've said many times, 39 is the number to call, and then you'll get an immediate police response. But I am looking at that particular issue, Rochelle, and I will come back to you, like I said, before the next meeting around that. I think, Paula, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think, forgive me, Paul, what I'm going to say here, but I think given the number of people that have raised this as an issue, and obviously this isn't the only issue on the agenda, I think it would be useful if you could make yourselves known to Paul is probably the easiest thing, and then we meet separately outside of this meeting to listen to everyone's concerns. Because I know that there's a full agenda.
That would absolutely, that would be great.
Can I suggest something to the,
Absolutely.
to the police? Would you like to distribute like a police newsletter around the estate into the letterboxes? A lot of the people who are most vulnerable will never actually come to a meeting like this. I'm thinking of elderly people and some of the people who are disabled. I know of one elderly lady I was visiting recently, and she got a phone call, and it was somebody asking about her credit card. And she was starting to read her credit card number, and I said, no.
No, you're absolutely right. I've got it written down. I've got it written down in terms of...
She couldn't understand. She thought the person was bona fide. And I said, banks don't ring up and ask you to read out your credit card number.
No, they don't. What publications go out now, at the minute, to yourselves as residents?
No.
You don't get any updates about it?
We have a housing newsletter, so information could go out in that if you want. We're always open to putting out more.
Housing newsletters every 3 months. We send out updates, letters, probably every 2 weeks to everybody regarding various issues.
A lot of things get thrown in the bin. A lot of elderly people just think, oh, it's more stuff. Whereas it could be something small they could keep. You know, if you're ever worried about this, this is the number. Because a lot of elderly people on the estate say, well, I don't know who to ring.
No. Okay, well, we can look at something and do it generically, you know, and then equally link into something that whatever what you send out. And if there's a brief update like what John has just given us all, you know, and I don't know how useful that is, you know, telling you about the number of crimes. I don't know if that raises more of a fear amongst yourself more than anything else. You know, I'm not too sure. But I'm more than happy to attach ourselves to anything that you dish out, rather than another piece of information coming through the post.
But if it's specifically from you, it's something people can keep. They can like stick it onto a little notice board. And if they're ever worried, they know what to do.
Well, that's what the gentleman was saying earlier on in terms of, you know, numbers and that type of thing, and notifying about them.
Watch?
About what, sorry?
What about Neighbourhood Watch?
Well, have you got a neighbourhood watch yet? Did you ever have a neighbourhood watch yet?
No, years ago.
We'd be very supportive of that on the the estate.
I mean, you know, not to do anything, but obviously to report it. We see it, we report it.
Yeah. Can Ivan's had his hand up for ages to say, so we do need to...
Ivan.
Until a short while ago, we used to have police meetings every 3 months. Why have they suddenly stopped?
No, the last one was held December. It was held at the Green Box over a thing, and the next one is due to be arranged. We're just needing the chair to get the time to arrange a time for it. That'll be over this side in the library here, and that'll be publicised as soon as we can get hold of the chair and arrange a time and date that fits in with the booking and everything else. But there was one.
I didn't know.
Yeah, but John, that meeting you gave 7 days, less than 7 days notice for it.
I didn't.
And it was at the time that it was not convenient for the majority of residents, and that was pointed out to you at that meeting, John.
Okay. No, the reason it was changed on that was because there was something that we needed to say, and we came to say it. We did go round every flat with a flyer for that meeting, both on the Middlesex Street estate and the Mansell Street estate. It was put through the doors. It was put on the notice boards, it was put on our website, and we also went through the various organisations, both on Mansell Street and here, to try to publicise that. The meetings will be continuing because we want them to continue, because that's what we want to hear. We're here to police for you. And regarding the drugs, just so you know, we are doing an awful lot. We have been patrols here. I think some of you may have had, if you're on certain floors of the tower block, had a knock from myself, Elise and a couple of my colleagues, asking about the very same issue about drugs. And we have gone and patrolled the stairwells and all the sheds downstairs quite regularly. And it is one of the first things in the morning when my officers come in at 7 o'clock. They're tasked to come round and patrol the estate, around the bins, the car park, the shed area, the staircase, to make sure there's nobody there. This coming week, we have, I don't want to take too much of Joe's thunder, we do have a homeless hub going, whereby the police, in conjunction with their partners in Broadway and social services and the drug agencies, go around looking for homeless people, and we try to offer them support and help to get out of their addiction and get them into housing. This estate is going to be visited every night as a part of that. So it is thing. We have an intervention team as well as a residential team whose duty is to deal with homelessness, begging and other issues like that. And they have, the two officers on that quite regularly come round here and patrol the estates in the morning. And on that, in the last year, we've got 32 ASBOs, antisocial behaviour orders, against people for either begging or causing antisocial behaviour. The vast majority of those have come from the Port Soakham ward and the Bishopsgate ward. In fact, I'd say nearly all of them have come from those wards. That's the work we're trying to do. We understand we cannot be here at all times. I'd love to have a department about 20 times the size of what I've got, so we can do an awful lot more. But we are not able to cover it all the time. However, as the Governor says, we work with you. Elise is on the estate every day. Foyers is on the estates every day. Mohammed is on the estate every day. And Phil is on there as often as his time allows. So you have 4 officers that cover Middlesex Street and Mansell Street estates. As the Governor says, let us know what times it are. We will come at the times you ask for. After the meeting, I'll go with the Governor and the gentleman there, and we'll go and have a look at the areas that concern to you, just to make sure that things that we know exactly where the areas are.
We'll patrol there after this meeting, definitely. Just on the point of the neighbourhood watch, I think that's a fantastic idea. Speak to the neighbourhood officer regarding that and look at getting that developed. I think Paul has asked for already, just people's contact details that are in the room, it's fed to Paul so that we can maintain that communication. And as John's quite rightly said, there has been a lot of work surrounding dealing with antisocial behaviour in this area, and they continue to be so. Okay, so we will do everything we can.
Just a very quick one, sorry to cut across there, just a very quick one from me. Regarding meetings, police meetings you said was every 3 months ago. Now,
They should be every 3 months.
they should be.
And
They used to be.
they used to be every 3
Okay.
months, alternating between this
Right.
estate and Mansell Street. They have decreased in quantity, the time interval between them has increased,
Right.
and more notice, a decent amount of time
The
needs to
thing
be
is,
given.
the thing is for
Excuse
me.
me, a
Sorry.
decent amount of time needs to be given so that residents
Mhm.
know when they're going to take place. The last one, I think it was less than 7 days' notice.
Right. Okay.
Yes, flyers went out,
Okay.
but about 4 people turned up, and 4 or 5 people turned
Right.
up.
Okay. The thing is for me is I'm looking at all our meetings and where we can jump in alongside these type of meetings. Okay, when you get a really good turnout like what we've got tonight, and then police are on the agenda, okay, and if there's any items that we wish to discuss, then I'm looking at our meeting to see, well actually, can we do that? So rather than you've got 4 or 5 different dates spread over 2 or 3 months, you know, why can't we just have a meeting like this, police are on the agenda, or an agenda item, and then we bring up the issues that we want to bring up. Okay, I'm conscious of the fact, exactly, I'm conscious of the fact that I'm jumping this because there are a number of people here also on the agenda. But I think that serves, personally, I think that serves a better purpose, where then we've got a captive audience, and then if you want to say what you want to say, like you all have done tonight, then we could be able to respond that way. And then it saves having 2 or 3, 4 different meetings in the diary, in the calendar, where we are committed to. Okay, that's my thinking, and I'm being honest with you around that. That's what I'm thinking in terms of linking in with the local authority and doing something along that way. I think that will better serve you. That's what I think. I'll speak to my colleagues and I'll say, well, okay, what's the feeling and what's the sentiment around that? But for sure, I'm sorry, I missed your name. John. But for sure, you know, 7 days notice, 5 days notice, 4 or 5 people turning up doesn't serve anyone any purpose. I'd much rather come to something like this where there's 30 people in the room and then you can all say what you want to say. And then I can be able to turn around and say, okay, the 2 things were bang, this and this. Okay, but maybe like that, we can do that. Okay, so that's my thought. Can I just know, what's your thought around that? Good idea, bad idea?
Good idea.
Good idea. Right, thank you.
Depends what the rest of the agenda is.
Say again, sorry?
Depends what the rest of the agenda is.
Oh, yeah.
And talking of which.
I know.
So, can I just make one suggestion, please?
Go on.
I think if you're patrolling for the drug addicts around this area, it would be better if you came with your clothes on, because if you're patrolling...
With what, sorry?
Turn back your plain clothes.
Okay. Thank you.
Because you've got your uniforms on.
I'll just quickly say.
Sorry, but you don't look old enough.
And then you want me my clothes on. I get that. No, in all seriousness, ladies and gents, I absolutely, and we absolutely take on board your point. And, you know, and you've got my, like I say, I don't make guarantees, but I am going to tonight. And I'm going to address this. We're going to look at this collectively. And we're going to involve the other people around the table, and Paula as well. And I will come back to you with a response. Hopefully it's a response that you want and we've actually found these people and we're nicking them and arresting them, but certainly it will be a response. In other words, we're not just going to do nothing, okay, we will do something. I'm not saying that we're going to put costs on them and find them and all that kind of stuff, but we will be doing something, okay, and you can hold me accountable and responsible for if we don't do anything, okay? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Just the one happy note, so to then go for Joe. One of those two you've seen in the stairwell has been arrested by us.
Good stuff.
Not happy for him. Happy for us. Right.
So
Can I just
we are
thank
doing it.
our colleagues in the police? It really is. And I'd also like to thank Sue, who's given me my best moment this week. I'm never going to look at a policeman the same again.
Certainly not then, but anyway.
Of course it is. Thank you
Thank
very much for your
Okay,
time.
you've all got my name, haven't you? And you've got the inspectors and you've got the sergeants, okay?
All will make sure all names go in, go out. Right. Now, yes. On a very connected note, we do have Joe Batty with us. Joe works for St Mungo Broadway. As many of you will know, they are the city's partners in dealing with rough sleeping. So we know we've had some issues with rough sleeping on the estate. So I'm going to ask Joe to talk about his work and see if he can answer some of your questions. Joe, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to keep my clothes on as well. I work for St Mungo's Broadway, which was previously known in this area as Broadway. We've been running the contract for rough sleeping in the area for about 8 years now. I myself have been in this area working with rough sleepers since the mid-90s. I was associated with St Botolph's Church, which is just across the way. So I have a long history of working with rough sleepers in this area. One of the key issues for us at the moment has been, during the last couple of years really, it's been a steadily rising number of people on the street. So a number of complex reasons why that is the case, but I'll try and give you a thumb sketch as to what's going on. Firstly, it's sad, but it is actually true the numbers have gone up since the Olympic Games, but it isn't cause and effect. I'm afraid there's a lot different dynamic going on. If I tell you that over 50% of the people in the City of London sleeping rough at any one time are people not domiciled originally in the UK, but are people from the former Eastern Europe, well still Eastern Europe, from Eastern Bloc accessional states, and people who have no recourse to public funds. And it'll tell you the nature of some of the changes since 2009 in particular. Those changes have made it very difficult. However, it doesn't detract from the fact that I'm sorry about this, I'm finding it quite difficult with some of the stuff going on.
We perhaps shut the door at the back. Thank you,
Since 2009 the numbers have changed, but we did have a real plateau in 2009-10 when the numbers across the city were exceptionally low, and on one particular night we didn't find anybody out at all. Sad to say that's not the case now, although in November last year we had a count of about 50, well it wasn't about, it was 50 people sleeping rough in the City of London. Since then the numbers have gone down. They've gone down by hard work. There are 5.4 workers, that's all, 5.4 workers doing the homelessness work across the City of London. We're out 7 days a week, often twice a day. We can't obviously do the math, we can't do 14 shifts a week, it's impossible. However, we do tend to be out in the mornings and in the evenings, Monday to Friday for definite, and at the weekends we're out as often as the shifts will allow us to do so. We respond to calls from the public using the StreetLink website, which I think you should have a poster up in your buildings. If you've not, then that's something that perhaps can be remedied. We don't run an international rescue service because we can't. We don't fly in, pick people up and house them straight away for a number of reasons, which are quite complex, but I'll run it by you first and foremost. In London there is a system called the No Second Night Out system. So when people are new to the streets and we find them, then we offer them no second night out. Okay? Everybody who meets the team, who's new to the streets, is offered access to that service. Whether or not they choose to take that service up is another issue. They're offered no second night out. No second night out in this area is based around Camden. There's a place in Camden which is a former church which is now used as this temporary staging post where people are ascertained as to what their support needs are and then filtered into the system, if they're new, into the appropriate route, which generally is a reconnection back to their home area. Okay? Now that is quite a challenge that the localism agenda which has come in recent years has put a tremendous emphasis on where people originate from. And in some respects the local authorities in central London have good reason to do that, because a lot of people migrate into central London and the burden of housing people would fall disproportionately on, say, the square mile. Which does bring me to quite an interesting point. Twice in 20 years, just twice in 20 years, have I met somebody rough sleeping in the City of London who was born or brought up in the City of London. So you need to put things into perspective. The vast majority of people who end up sleeping rough in the city, by an inordinate amount, have come from elsewhere. Okay, so that's the first problem. The second problem is, of course, that the Corporation of London shouldn't and will not pick up the tab for everybody who drops into the City of London. However, the team that is paid to do the work in the city, my team, will always offer, irrespective of what people tell you, will always offer a solution to an individual. They may not like that solution, but we don't run a choice-based letting scheme on the street. We run an emergency access to accommodation, and from there, their lives can be rebuilt if they choose to take it. Unfortunately, often people choose not to take the options that are on the table first and foremost. Doesn't mean to say that my team then ignore them in perpetuity. They will offer other things. But the basic offer will be the single service offer, which is, this is what's on the table. We don't have anything else to give people apart from the options that we provide them. We don't have a menu that says, we can give you a one-bedroom flat on Golden Lane. We don't have that. We don't even have a menu that says we can give you a one-bedroom flat on Avondale, which, if anybody knows, that's where I was from, if you're wondering where I was before. So we do work very hard to put people into temporary accommodation. That is usually going to be a hostel route. Okay? Now, it's further complicated, because often people who pitch up in this area have already got an offer of accommodation from another area, and you just happen to be very handily placed to a local authority where they have pretty much the densest population of hostel spaces, despite the fact that they closed down Beacon House, or Dock Street as it used to be called. There are still several hundred hostel places across Tower Hamlets, which doesn't make me surprised when I hear that you have people who access your premises for nefarious activities, generally drug taking. It's not a surprise. What is a surprise to most people is that in October to December 2013, there was an operation that the police were doing, and they're not here now to speak to it, whereby they were ticketing individuals who were still going on, but this is a snapshot period. They gave out 200 tickets to people who were begging in the city around here, Bishopsgate in particular. And it probably won't surprise you to know, but 89% of those tickets were issued to people who were already in accommodation. So, you know, you can see just 11% of those tickets, some of them were repeats, by the way, so it's even less. 11% of those tickets were for people who were sleeping out. Now, Hector may say this, and I'm sorry if I'm on camera and stuff, so I'll try to be very careful about this, but I'm afraid the issue of drug taking in this area is not a new issue. I was at St Botolph's, as I said. I don't know if anybody knows, but there used to be quite a busy day centre at St Botolph's, and I ran the outreach services out of there, and I can tell you from the mid-90s onwards, I remember raising the issue that the demographic of people sleeping rough and the demographic of people on the streets in this area was changing markedly. And it was changing because the drugs market had migrated from East London to the very periphery of the city. Now, there is a line, some of you may see this, I'm sorry, that's not a pun. There is a line that runs from Liverpool Street Station right the way down to Tower Hill. It's a straight line down the Minories. If you care, and the police probably, if they're not in uniform, will see this, to sit around, you will see dealers, okay? You will see them, because there are beggars, and wherever the beggars are, on those prestigious spots, you can't buy them, those spots, by the way, they make that much money, it's because, you know, that's where the dealers are going to be, they're going to be there. Well, I want to make a big separation, I'm trying to make the separation between rough sleepers and the general drug-taking population. Most of the rough sleepers in this area, sadly, are affected by substance misuse. However, if you go further west, that decreases. And the reason why it decreases is it's further from the drug market. in a sense. Dealers aren't going to come all the way to the centre of London, St Paul's, when the trade is this area here and the begging is this area here. So you are unfortunately in a uniquely difficult position. I remember when they were building the St Botolph's building across the way here, because I was on the Residents Association then of Golden Lane. There was a long discussion about increases in CCTV. I don't want to stay on those things, but I remember thinking at the time that I wish that the amounts that were being mentioned would be spent on other estates, Golden Lane not being one of them, Avondale Square being one of them, because they have a problem, but their problem is different. Their problem is people using their grounds as opposed to using their buildings. So I digress. Sorry, that's because I've been in corporation accommodation, that I feel I have a bit of a link with what happens here. The rough sleepers who do get into this building, I want you to rest assured, irrespective of what people have said, and I'm quite happy to be challenged on this, that people have been offered something. Whether they tell you they've been offered something is another issue. I'm not prepared to talk about individual cases because of confidentiality, but I can talk generally about the people who may be in the building, whose cases I would have dealt with that were very similar before, if that's instructive. There are occasions when people's support needs are so high that they are very difficult to house. And that doesn't make it any easier for you knowing that that's the case. The problem that we have in estates like this is that people have to be made to leave. They have to be made to leave, and they have to be made not to come in the first place. I've got to say I was really, really shocked when somebody said, and I know why it happens, I know why it's going to happen as well because of wheelchair access, but 14 seconds is more than enough time to get enough people into the building. That is a problem. But the other problem is, and I know somebody mentioned it before, they feel frightened about challenging people. I absolutely agree with you. But the problem is that's how people get in. They get in because people let them in, or they get in because people have a closer door, or because there's a leaky building. And we know this building's leaky, but it's in the most busiest part, I think, of the East End. It really is. I mean, you'd see the footfall during the day with the markets and the people coming through and Devonshire Square development. It's not surprising people get in without being asked. It's a very big difficulty. Now, for us as an outreach team, we can't come in and pick some people up and take them somewhere at the drop of the hat, but we can come and see them if we've got staff available, and we will try and see them. And we do our shifts at night time and in the morning. So if you call us in the middle of the afternoon, it's unlikely that we're going to find out. I will come to you in a second. It is unlikely that we're necessarily going to come and pick somebody up. And in any case, during the daytime, it's less likely that it's going to be a rough sleeper than it is at 6 o'clock in the morning. I will pause for breath. I know you want to say something. So.
I'm not talking about their personal stuff like their beds, but there's too much available cardboard pallets all over the estate for them to use for bedding, and it's ridiculous. And it's been there so long, and we've complained about it for so long. Is it ever going to be removed?
Well, the wooden pallets is coming from the shops.
I know where it's coming from, but it doesn't tell me about where it's going.
And they're collected, I think, is it once per week, Charlie, wooden pallets?
Once a month.
Once a month. We can ask if they can be collected more often, but we need to tread a little bit carefully
Could you
with that.
ask them to put it in the sheds, in the
Cages.
locks?
They are meant to do that.
Yeah, we'll get them to do that.
Because, and stop them putting them in the car park.
As much as I'm able to, I'll ask them. But
And
yeah.
the cardboard left at the back of the shops because they're inconvenienced.
Oh, you're saying that you've got to tread carefully. Considering they lease the properties anyway, can't you turn around and enforce a fine on them if they don't put them in there?
No, what I mean by tread carefully is currently at this moment in time it's a bit of a loophole. We don't actually pay for those pallets to be removed. If we say we want them removed more often, then we'll start paying that would incur a cost.
Yeah, but shouldn't that
Doesn't have to
to
be
the
stored.
storekeepers?
Yes, it does.
Because if they're the ones that are putting them there,
Yeah, well,
they're not putting them where they should be.
let me look to be putting them into different places to begin with, and that might explain the situation if we give them keys to access
Yeah.
those lockups. Yeah.
Okay,
that might be.
let's look into that.
To a degree, yeah, they would be.
Okay, we've
They
got,
would be quite hazardous if we stored them in the cages. So I can imagine there.
If the cages could be locked, it'd be even better, wouldn't it?
No, they will be locked, yeah. Otherwise, the bus sticks will get in and just get
Exactly.
okay, we've got lots of hands. I'm also conscious that we've got several items that are going to be of interest to you. So if we can keep questions brief, and are these questions for Joe?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So this gentleman here.
Joe, could I just ask you, I just had my shed, my shed was actually burgled and two of my bicycles were stolen. And then there was a gentleman, now I know you can't go into personal details now, that's fine, but this was a disabled gentleman. Now the City of London Police have advised me that when that happens I should ring the police who will come and move this person on. That leaves me with a bit of a moral dilemma because it was like -3 that particular night.
Okay,
and I mean, what do I do?
So on that particular occasion, it doesn't matter about the client incident there. And this issue, if it was about -3, I can guarantee that there was somewhere where that person could go. Because I know that when the temperature drops below 0, look, it's a moot point. It's freezing when it's 2 degrees, not literally, but it feels it. When it's below minus and it's projected for 3 days, which happens quite a lot and has just happened now for several days, there is a thing called a sweat provision put on, which is a severe weather protocol, and there was accommodation available free at the point of entry, irrespective of the fact that you may or may not have means to remain in this country. So anybody who is an Eastern European not accessing their treaty rights, which is a big issue, which perhaps I don't know if you're going to mention that. If they're somebody who shouldn't be in the country legally, anybody can go to sweat provision, okay? It's not a mandatory statute, but it is best practice policy. And I know that there was 2 sweps, one in Islington and one out in Harrow. We would enable people to go there. So he could have gone there, that particular individual, if they'd have been asked, could have gone there and the police could have asked us to take them. However, just to come to the vexed issue of individuals, you're never going to know everything that I know. And I'd love to tell you everything I know about individuals, but I probably wouldn't have a job tomorrow if I did. However, what I would say to you is that everybody who's been in this building, by and large, is on, well not by and large, if they've been sleeping out, is on a database in London, which all the outreach workers have access to. That database is called Chain. You can check it on the website. You unfortunately can't search through Chain, but I can tell you that the Chain is a record of every time that individual has been seen sleeping out and where. And the and where bit is really important, because if somebody is normally seen in Tower Hamlets, then the outreach team for Tower Hamlets will have specific jurisdiction over what happens to that client, and they will issue them with a single service offer. That generally means this is the plan that we've got for you to go in. You might, as I say, you might want a Golden Lane flat, but you're not going to get that. What you're going to get initially is stage 1, which might be the NSNO, or it might be one of the other hostels that they've been highlighted to go to. If they don't engage with that plan, then there has to be other arrangements. Those other arrangements usually work around us working with the enforcement agencies, and that's about the police reinforcing the message that A, it's not okay to sleep out on the streets. It's not okay because A, it's a life-threatening situation, whether people think that they're hardened to it or not. The very fact remains that people die in the mid to early 40s and earlier if they're substance dependent by sleeping on the streets. But also it's deleterious to the life of everybody else in the area, which does bring you to the issue of the businesses around the corner, because it isn't just the pallets and it isn't just the cardboard that's left out, it's the sandwiches that are left out, it's the public who come through who think it's okay to facilitate people staying out, and this is going to be really difficult. So I'm going to give you a difficult message. I believe this, I'm a zealot, right? So I'm going to give you this message. You can throw the stones at me afterwards, but providing people with stuff that keeps them on the street literally does that. So giving people sleeping bags, tents, and all the accoutrements that enable people to sleep out is just keeping them out longer. And just on one other issue, there was a lady who died the other day. I don't know if anybody saw it in the Evening Standard. A lady by the name of Anne Naismith. Anne Naismith had been sleeping out. I know she'd been sleeping out for 20 years because I and my teams, because I manage several teams, I tried to get her in, okay? She was kept out initially by, irrespective of what the Guardian says, she was kept out by the well-meaning behaviours of her neighbours and friends who thought they could help her by helping her stay on the streets. Okay, I'm not saying where it ended, but that story is writ large all over the city.
And I can only endorse that because we know that some residents have been providing food and hot drinks with every good intention, but that is not the thing to do. And you know, again, Joe is absolutely right. We may know lots of things around those individuals that you don't know, and we can't tell you, Joe can't tell you, and John and his colleagues can't tell you. But no, please do not approach them, and please do not facilitate them. Jane, if we could just have one more quick question, that would be great.
Stay there all night.
Yeah.
It's just really to say that that to remember that that they are actually people, and you don't always know the situations that they've actually found themselves in. When I worked for Crisis, I was very aware that it's there but for the grace of God, that you only really need a divorce and a job loss, and then sort of people go down in that direction. But in practical terms, I wanted to say that we do have quite a few people sleeping by hot air vents in the streets around here, and I'm often out very late at night or very early in the morning, and I see them and I think to myself, one day they're going to die in the cold when it gets colder and colder. And if I see them, what do I do for the best? Who do I ring? Do I ring somebody who can come round and say, are you okay, and do you want to...
You phone Streetlink, or you go on the Streetlink website. I would quote you the Streetlink number, but unfortunately, because I was being very respectful and reading that, I turned on my IT equipment off, so I don't have a paper thing now, but I'll give you the information.
If I ring Streetlink and it's 11 o'clock at night, will someone come round and make sure somebody's okay and say,
right, if somebody's sleeping on the air vents, they'll be okay. I don't want them to sleep on the air vents, and actually I'll tell you now that the vast majority of people who sleep on those air vents have just not found their way back to their accommodation, because I know most of those people who sleep on it.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't want to say, but I definitely know that they've got somewhere to go to.
But they prefer to sleep by the air vents?
No, they prefer to stay out on the way back, and rather than go back because they're intoxicated, they don't go back to wherever they're supposed to be. I'm not. You go back to the point about being treating people as humans. I'm not treating people as inhuman. I'm trying to tell people exactly how it is. People do have complex backstories, but it's my task and my team's task to stop people staying where they are. So we have to try and move away from them.
If we see somebody sleeping out on the street,
then you get in touch with the Streetlink website, and the Streetlink line is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 or 4 days a year.
Okay, I'll do that. Paul just said we'll publicise the Streetlink details throughout the room.
Thank you.
Joe, can I thank you very much?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on quickly. You will be aware, I'm sure, of all the issues that have arisen nationally around welfare benefit reform. And in the city, we've been working with our tenants and residents for some time now to really do a lot of work to get behind issues that they have and help them cope with the changes that are taking place. Tim Platt is here to talk about that, and particularly, I think, to probably update us on universal credit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Welfare reform is a very broad issue. I could be here all night talking about the different things, but I will not be here all night because I've got universal credit. You may have seen in the news this weekend, the government were trumpeting the national rollout of universal credit after much delay. This is going to hit this area on the 2nd of March. So for I won't go through all the criteria, for single job seekers essentially, from the 2nd of March you'll no longer be applying for job seekers allowance, income support or housing benefit, you'll be applying for universal credit. And it's going to be a very gradual rollout. In the first year, they estimate only about 60 odd people will actually qualify in the east of the city itself, in this ward. We're piggybacking off City Tower Job Centre. So because that's our local job centre here, that's why the east of the city is going in this phase of universal credit. Golden Lane will be going on a later phase along with Islington. But this one will be going on the 2nd of March. The big changes are going to be for people getting universal credit. They will get all their money for their living costs and all their money for housing costs as well. So at the present time, someone getting job seekers allowance will then apply separately to us for housing benefit, which then gets paid automatically onto your rent account. With universal credit, you will get all that money in one handy monthly payment into your own bank account, which then you will pay onto the rent account yourself. Presents a lot of challenge for residents, for people getting universal credit, and obviously for ourselves as an organisation to help support people in budgeting, managing their finances and that kind of thing. But we're working with the Job Centre. The Job Centre has been dramatically transformed at City Tower. There's a lot more online access, and we're putting support networks in place to help support people in this process. But it's just the very beginning. 2nd of March will be the first of the very small rollout for single job seekers only. Couples and family will come in at a later date, and then that will be followed by other categories as well. But it's a small cohort for now, so it may not affect anyone here in this room at this point in time, but this is just the beginning. So we'll keep everyone updated as we go along as well. Any questions, we're here at the City of London Benefits team are happy to answer any questions that people have got. And the gov.uk website has also got quite a lot of useful information as well. I don't want to go into too much detail because there is a lot of information. Has anyone got any questions about the Universal Credit Programme at all?
Is this something else that you could circulate like an information leaflet about through people's doors? Because a lot of the people who might be curious, might need to know about this are not here this evening.
It gets included in the rent statement.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have put a lot of information out, and we offer lots of money management training, support not just to existing tenants but to people who are on our waiting list. So and to residents, because obviously we administer benefits the whole square mile. So
benefit surgeries as well. Yeah.
So yeah, we run surgeries here. The benefits team come down here. But if anybody has any worries about it or knows someone, then direct them to the estate office and they will put them in direct touch with the benefits team to help. We are very lucky actually to have in the city to have the benefits team within housing. I've worked in other places where they've been in different departments and the disconnection between the two is massive. We are able to pick up people's problems and work them out with them very, very quickly because of that.
Well,
Where did you say the
here
nearest
as
job
well.
centre was, by the way?
Sorry?
Where did you say the nearest job centre?
It's City Tower, which is just, I believe, across. Do you know what it is?
Tenderground.
I don't know, City Tower. No.
Yeah.
Do you know what street it's in?
I don't know
It's
where
on
it is.
Tenderground.
Yes.
Tenderground.
Yes. Just parallel to Mansell Street, but one street in.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I've got some handouts here.
I also want to say that the city did provide, I remember a whole pack came out about, I mean, I didn't really look at it too much, but a lot of stuff came out about it. So,
And it will keep coming, we will keep information coming. It's really
so it was
important.
there was lots of information.
Good.
Well, keep it brief.
Tim.
We're here for any questions at all.
Tim, many thank you for that. Thank you. Right, thank you for being so brief. So, I know a number of you have been concerned about broadband here on the estate, and you've met Stephen Bage before. So I'm going to hand over to Stephen to talk about the work he and his colleagues have been doing and where we are now.
Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce my colleague Neil Ford, who's now the programme manager of the new Superfast City programme, a new name for our city's telecom strategy. When I was here last in the summer, we were working with BT to try and bring about what we now call the fibre to the basement solution, which is where we take the effectively the kit that you would ordinarily have in a cabinet in the street and put it in the basement and provide superfast broadband through the existing phone line. That's now been achieved. It's the first of its kind in the UK, and we've been told possibly the world. We're not sure about that. But what it effectively means is that residents on this estate can now access speeds of up to 78 megabits. I think we have about 8 residents thus far who are accessing that. Henry Jones was the first to sign up, as was Terry, I think, and that's helped. He's obviously a small business owner on the estate, and that's certainly helped him work more efficiently as well. But I'll have to hand over to Neil to say more about it.
Well, I'd like to thank the opportunity to address you tonight. Plus, some of the topics I've heard here feel like the light entertainment. But one thing I would know is that each of the presenters before us has always mentioned access to a website or to email to download further information or access information. And hopefully what we've done here today, what we've achieved here in partnership with BT by improving the broadband provision and speed to the Middlesex Street estate will enable the residents to access this type of information more readily with the new superfast broadband speeds that are available. Obviously it also means that you can access other services that you may not have been able to access before, such as streaming media services, Netflix, that type of service. And also it would allow you to take advantage of other types of technology like Skyping relatives or what have you that live in other parts of the country or the world. As Steve said, this is the first implementation of this type of technology by BT in the UK, and they've assured us globally as well. So we do suspect or expect that there may be some teething issues with this new technology. And what we've done is we've produced a leaflet with some contact information that should you have any issues with the service, that you can email us to let us know what your experiences are with the new service. The email address is on the leaflet. This leaflet that we've produced tells you a bit about the project or the programme and how you can check to see whether this new service is available to you, and the contact details for ourselves once you've placed an order. We would encourage you to take advantage of this new service by contacting your ISP provider. Any questions?
Is there any, do we have to pay for this service? Or
Yes.
do
Yes,
we get
you will.
Wi-Fi in our home? How much would it cost?
So you would contact your ISP, your current provider, and discuss any packages or special offers that they have.
Well, some more leaflets here for the
Excellent, thank you.
Can I just say I did it via BT. I think I contacted them about a week ago. The hub came within the week and was switched on Monday. So the whole thing has happened in about 8 or 9 days. It's just fantastic. Thank you.
I think there is a. They're certainly very anxious because it's the first of its kind. It's a triumph that has been going since January. So they want to ensure that this all happens very smoothly. And that's why I think we want to try and get all your feedback to ensure that we can give as much to BT as we can so that it can roll it out elsewhere.
I think that's one of the key things here is the take-up within this estate as well. So if you can let your fellow residents know about this new service and share your experiences with them about the new service to help promote it within the estate.
Will it apply to just computers, or will it mobile internet as well?
So it'd just be to, basically what's happening here is they're provisioning superfast broadband to your house, and then if you have a wireless access point, then you could use your mobile devices over that connection as well.
So you'll be given generally a wireless router from your internet service provider. The only thing they actually need to change, as I understand it, in your individual flats, is the actual faceplate where you generally plug in the wall. I think that does change, but everything else
didn't even have to change.
Some do, some don't.
Will it operate with a dongle?
It will if you have a wireless router, yes.
I had my plate done about 2 years ago.
Right.
Okay. Excellent.
Does it apply to the library?
It doesn't, because that's on the City of London network, so you already have speeds.
Well, you see, this is the problem. If you're an OAP, not me particularly, but if you're an OAP, all this is wonderful, but it's all extra expense.
The library internet access is diabolical. Absolutely diabolical.
That will be on the City of London wide area network.
And it's very slow.
If anyone's interested, I signed up for, we had a BT package. We had an existing BT package. When I got onto the set for this new one, I ended up, mine's cheaper now, but it was before.
That's right, same as mine.
Faster speed, so it's worth it while we're in that BT. You'll get the faster speed, you'll get it cheaper than it was before.
Terry is at the cutting edge of technology, as we all know. Sorry, Neil.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it's certainly worth contacting your provider to ask what special offers or packages they've got for this new service. And obviously, like everything else, you know, you can shop about. There's nothing to stop you doing that.
Just from a technological point of view, it's super fast at the basement. What about the wiring up to the flat?
So basically, the speed that you should get at the delivery point should be up to 80 megabits per second. And what we've seen to date we've had feedback from one resident who done a speed check, and they were achieving just shy of 77 megabits per second.
So does the wiring from the basement to your flat have an influence on the speed you receive?
It's a valid point. Basically, this whole BT superfast broadband product is limited by the legacy copper cable infrastructure, and that's a problem across the whole of the UK. You do have some other companies that actually will provide fibre to your flat, and you can get speeds of up to a gigabit. It's more expensive, but yes, in some respects we are limited, but as is everyone else who provides service on BT's network.
That's why it's only 80 gig.
Yeah, but to be fair, Broadband Delivery UK terms superfast broadband as anything over 30 meg, so we're well in excess of that.
And from a personal perspective, I've got 60 megabits per second, and I use streaming TV services and movie services with absolutely no issues.
Well, there was a big article in the newspaper about how awful the City of London is with its broadband for businesses.
That's something that we've helped to instigate with Eden Standards. I think our chairman Mark Rowley has been mentioned, and Eden Standards for about the last 4 or 5 nights. I think it's on the front page this evening as well. Yeah. That's part of a kind of campaign by us and people like Tech City to try and improve coverage across the whole of the square mile.
Any other questions? No? Gentlemen, thank you very much. And can I just say, Steve is really quite tirelessly on this. I think, you know, we're really lucky to have had him working on behalf of this estate to get this in. So thank you very much. Right. Okay, we're getting there. Right. As you all know, the ramps are down, the hoardings are down, and we've got, he's finished, oh there he is, Daniel Nelson, the project manager, to come and Victor Callister, to come and talk to us about the project and about what next, and I can see my leadership.
A few pictures to show here. For anybody who's new on the estate, that was what was there before Christmas and had been since the estate was the ramps that were curling up in front of the main entrance, and really sort of with the move of the community centre and the library into this building, they really were getting in the way of that.
No, we missed it and we want it back.
So the background to the is that we started out some initial concentration on what was actually going to be in the space on the removal of them. And residents clearly expressed a view for an open space with some greenery there, but with very little street furniture in it at that time. But made it very clear they wanted to actually, you wanted to actually have a look at what the space was like without the ramps being there before committing to a particular design. So we don't have an approval as it stands for a space. We want to work with you on that. And a key part of that was wanting a better entrance as well to the tower. Once the ramps are out of the way, we had some space to work with there.
And so we started demolition in October, and you can sort of see there, what it was like during demolition. Quite a tight job for the demolition contractors. They were only a little tiny bit over programme. I think they did quite well. We had very few complaints about dust and noise while they were actually on site. So I think that was quite a very successful job that Daniel managed on our behalf there. Completed in January with the basement car parking, stage entrance opening again, and you can sort of see there the picture of the after. Now, lots of people have said it's quite different to what they might have expected, and that relates to this little bit of ramp that's been retained in this area here. When we were just about to go on site and do the demolition, we had a second check from a structural engineer who was not convinced that we actually had the ability to remove all of that structure in one go without putting some additional support in place. Now, we didn't have the design to do that, but we did have the demolition contractor turning out to go. So we made a decision to move forward with the demolition and to retain this one piece of ramp here until we actually have a final design. This will go when we have a final design, which will either mean the removal of all of that concrete structure or part of that concrete structure, bringing it down so it's just stopping people from falling into the car park ramp below. But when we do that, we will have to actually put some additional elements in place. So we've had to retain it in the short term, and you can sort of see there the impact of it sort of sitting in that space that's there. Works are always finished, and there are some minor snagging that needs to be done, and Leonard's got a list that he's working with the contractors on that. The key one here, which we saw tonight on the way in, and has been reported to us, and somebody's got it up on the YouTube channel is there. Not the most riveting bit of YouTube you'll ever see, but a picture of the puddle that's in place, something that we're well aware of, and we are picking up in the short, medium term to get that right. And there's some other little elements of work that are needed as well.
At both ends.
Well, I was just about to say, you get another photograph later tonight, on the other end as well, so the drains are not clear.
Yeah, so these are the things that we're picking up, just to get at that final bit of snagging to actually get this to work properly, and there are a few other little pieces as well.
In the meantime, you've got that open space. What's preventing the motorcycles, and in fact a vehicle, out from one end to the other?
Well, a car was in it yesterday.
Excuse me, let me finish. The other morning, a child was nearly run over by a motorcycle going through there at full tell. It was only the presence of a mother who was holding a child to save that child being knocked over.
So that's something that we are concerned about. It's the first I've heard that we're actually getting vehicles into this.
Oh yeah, cyclists whizzed through. I went out and got mowed down by cyclists.
And so we're aware of cyclists using the walkway and things before. I am concerned about vehicles getting in here. I think as part of the snagging, we might have to do what we can do in the short term.
We used to get that, we can get parking there so they can go into where they're doing the services.
We can get concrete blocks that are actually just put in place to stop that from happening. I wasn't aware that vehicles were getting into that, so we can pick that up as part of our snagging exercise. This is a landscape architect's view of how they've interpreted what came through our first workshop. It's not the design that's been approved. This hasn't been through any approval process. This was just an indication of what it's possible to do within this space. People wanted it to be green, but didn't want to actually have a lot of elements sitting in the space itself, particularly seating. There was a concern about people sitting out there at night, and all of the issues that we've heard about tonight actually just happening within this space. But we wanted this just to be created as a high quality space, because high quality spaces generally don't attract the negative behaviours that you see in the back of house spaces. So the idea is that in the final design, we want to turn this into a front of house space. So we've actually got the entrance to people's houses, an entrance to a library and community centre, and to make it a space that feels like that. We want to actually work through a process to actually develop that design for the space. And we're going to suggest that we actually have another design workshop that brings out some of the issues that we talked about before, and some of the issues that have been raised again tonight about how this space needs to be relevant to the kind of activities and the environment that we've actually got. And to work up some plans and maybe some options. And then as a result of that, to actually consult with every resident on the estate in terms of looking at a preferred option that we can then move forward and gain approval for. And then implement and get on and do the scheme. Now we've set out a draft timetable for that, taking us from where we are now on the left-hand side there, in terms of further consultation and developing that design through into May, so plenty of time for us to actually have a good conversation about what that space is going to look like in the long term. Do the construction packages, get all of that underway, because of course we want to remove the rest of those concrete ramps as well, so we've got some technical work that needs to be done, and then to actually move on in the latter part of this year, after the summer, to actually do the construction works to get the new landscaping in place, and hopefully before Christmas. And we were on your doorstep for Christmas this year. We hope to get out of it and leave it free for Christmas this year. But that's the plan that we are working to. We will be talking to Jackie and colleagues about facilitating that and actually getting the timeline and getting the information out so that we can actually start on that process of doing the workshops. Was there any more questions about that?
Just one thing, the area that they took the cage away from next to the library, where the cage is stored down below, can that be put in the plan? And can you consider, if you're not going to be putting the cage up, are you going to be removing, and what are you going to be doing with that space down there? Because if it's left open, you could have a use for it.
Yeah, there's some short-term things. I know Daniel's sort of dealing with around sort of access in that area as part of the project, but certainly we want to consider all of the implications as part of a redesign that's on the space. I just wanted to also talk about how this fits into some more general plans in the area, and I've had the opportunity to present this before, but it's now coming live. It's going towards implementation. We have a phase 1 of improvements in Middlesex Street, which we have the budget for and approval to move ahead. We just have to go to a final report to our members on procurement, and then to move ahead with the construction of improvements to Middlesex Street. So where you've got those triangular islands that sit in the middle, we're looking to connect those to the buildings and to remove the carriageway and tarmac area and turn that into a pedestrian area entirely. That will create some really big spaces there that will be re-landscaped. Very simple landscaping, so it's just trees and paving. We're not putting anything else in there at this stage. See how that goes flexibly. And then also Widegate Street, removal of the vehicles from Widegate Street to create a space that looks very like Bow Lane. So those of you that are familiar with Bow Lane, you can sort of see what that would actually look like in Widegate Street. Very similar streets, sort of early Victorian streets in the city. And that's on its way within this year. And Daniel's charged with writing the final report on that and then managing the implementation of that project. Phase 2 is the rest of the market space, so it's the rest of the Middle Street. I took this last weekend because I actually only live down the road. I thought this was really very funny. We had designer dresses for £1. I wonder what designers they're from, but it's the best bargain I've seen on the market for a while. And we did a lot of work with a company called the Retail Group, who actually have turned around several other markets in London and across the country. And we have got a lot of evidence that they really know what they're doing. They've really managed to actually achieve the differences. A lot of that is based, of the work they've done so far, is analysis and consultation and looking at what people actually want out of the market. And seeing here that the key things that market users, and including residents, actually want is more choice, more variety, and an improvement in quality. And it is only a Sunday morning market. So it's a difficult market to actually start to work with on that, but they have given us a strategy that we think that we can implement along with colleagues in Tower Hamlets to try and raise the quality of the market offer, working with the traders that are there rather than just replacing them with somebody else, so that we can actually give them access to a better market. Because around the corner, on the morning that I took this, I bought a cup of coffee in nude espresso, just off Brick Lane, £3. So I can bought 3 dresses. So just looking at the overall programme, you can sort of see that we are planning to do a lot of work in the area this year and moving through into 2016 as well to actually make that improvement. You've also seen all of the works that are happening around Aldgate and the projects there. Currently looks like it's just a building site, a bomb site everywhere. Those of you who've sort of seen the montages will know that there's a wonderful space that's coming to it. I think really is worth putting up with the pain. A lot of the activity that's out there at the moment is actually gas main replacement. We've got them in first so that we can actually get the gas mains replaced, then put the scheme on top so that they don't come in when they were programmed in 2 years' time and dig it all up again before they go. So there's a huge amount of improvement that's wrapping around this whole area, and the city's putting quite a bit of funding into that to see if we can actually lift this area up to the same sorts of standards that we're seeing across the boundary and bits of Tower Hamlets around the markets up in Spitalfields.
And we've lost the number 15 bus already. Will that come back when they finish?
There is no bus routes that have actually been taken away as part of the Aldgate project. The stops have just been moved around, and in particular around the station, the bus station, because we've actually had to take the buses out of there. But the intention is that all of the buses will go back into the bus station on completion, and the buses will continue to run through the area. We haven't taken any of the routes out as part of the project.
It's just temporary then?
Yes, the temporary movement of the bus routes and bus stops.
It was just really a general point. I know it's a lovely area and it's an important area because of its history and because of the people who've lived here for generations. And I know that the improvements are intended with the best of intention. At the same time, to what extent are you engaging with, say, children, community children's services to ensure that we don't enter into a process of gentrification that essentially means that the offers that are available from the Petticoat Lane market are kind of out of the league of the people who have habitually come here, and that it serves the needs of the community as it currently stands. It's a wonderful community, and it's really important that the history and the people here are catered for.
Yeah, indeed, it's something that when we were looking at employing the retail group, part of the offer that they had, which other consultants didn't have, was actually working with the traders and with the people that are actually here marketing. It doesn't mean to say that the product itself changes, it's actually how that's presented. It gives the market traders an opportunity to actually make a better go of their business, even if it is actually servicing exactly the same customers that are there. But we also have areas of stalls that are not being occupied, and the market has shrunk in certain areas. And there's an opportunity for that to grow because we have markets around the corner where they're turning people away, but they're not choosing to actually come to the market. So we are looking very much to actually work with the traders to give them the best opportunity rather than forcing them out where they've had a long tradition of being on the market on Sunday.
If I can come in there as well, an example of where Victor and his team are working very closely with community and children's services, particularly about the community, is in the pavilion, which will be part of the new Aldgate Square development. And the city is absolutely committed to that being run as a social enterprise, and as part of that offering work and apprenticeships to local people, having offers to local people for healthy eating and so on that isn't costly, and making that a real community focus. So there are a number of things, and that's just one project, but we're working together on to really make sure this does stay relevant to the people who live here.
Good stuff.
And I think that just on that point, we did a consultation in this room on what that pavilion would actually provide. One of the messages we've heard loud and clear from the residents, and some of whom are in the room tonight, is that people wanted to find a place where they could actually safely go for a cup of tea in the afternoon without feeling that they were actually going somewhere that was going to be a place serving alcohol and drinks, and it was going to have more of a kind of loud city character. We've heard that loud and clear. That's been fed back into the brief for the pavilion, so that it is relevant to the community that live in the area.
If you're going to improve Middlesex Street, you need to improve the market standards. The standards of the market at the moment are disgusting. The traders are doing as they like, there's no curb, the inspectors don't do their job. They come in once in the morning, make sure they're all on their marks, but they don't check the market during the day. The pavements are full of merchandise. People can hardly walk. They've got rails on the pavements. The overall size of their stalls are oversized. There are no gaps for people to walk through. Now, when you decide to bring new improvements to the market, they should all have standard size rigs, and it should all be the same.
Yeah.
The cover should be the same, and make the market attractive to people to come and see it.
That is a key recommendation from the consultants, one that we have picked up, and we'll be offering the traders choices. Those that actually use the market very regularly, it's a weekly event for them, can choose to actually buy the rig that they will use. It will be a collapsible rig rather than the permanent wheeled ones that are in the area and rented out. Or people can actually rent a rig for the day through the market. And we're working with Tower Hamlet colleagues on that, so we can coordinate across the city as well as the Tower Hamlet area.
And how about the time?
20 years.
Pardon?
I worked in that market for 20 years. And the rigs are as old as 50, 60, 70 years old. Until that market actually comes up into the 21st century, you won't get the volume of people that you had previously.
I think there's nobody going to disagree with that, Ivan. Absolutely, that's very much
And how about the time? Because the market used to be 2 o'clock, it was now 5 o'clock, they're still trading.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I came through on Sunday at 2:15. It was very clear the market was actually closing down and they were not selling goods. It was a really sunny day and the markets elsewhere were completely full. It was really interesting because I'd heard that around the fact that the trading was actually going on longer than I thought. But it was closing down until
Very unusual. That was the only time an inspector would come around. 5 to 2, close, you're going home.
We have no plans to actually extend the hours of the market. It's actually to make it work better, and because we actually know that we have markets nearby that are open only a little bit longer in the afternoon, but actually have a much better offer, and that actually have a higher return of customers. One of the things that we actually were surveying was how many people come to the market once and are unlikely to come back again. It was a big message. People come to Petticoat Lane thinking they're going to come to a great market. They come to Petticoat Lane and they say, I'll never come back here again.
Yes.
And what we want to do is to turn that around so it feel like it's a
also the
regular
advertising, because you can stand in waiting for a bus and people would, they'll look at their maps and they will never come up to you, and you will approach them and you'll say, can I help you? Where do you want to go? I want to go to Petticoat Lane, the market. Well, it's not open.
And one of the things that came out of the work was, do we need to change the name of Middlesex Street to Petticoat Lane?
Yes.
And that came out to something that was worth consulting when looking at actually.
There's also another point.
Okay, I'm being
the last one, I want.
Okay.
The time they now finish causes additional costs. The cleaners, whereas they used to finish on time and the cleaners were out by 5 o'clock, they're now here till 7, 7:30. So therefore it means that the cost to both councils is additional.
Okay, I think we've certainly heard what people are saying about that, and we'll feed that back. Clearly it's not, it's a problem.
We will be in touch very soon about setting up another opportunity to look at the design of the space in front, and hopefully we'll get that ponding issue resolved quite quickly for you.
And one more question before you go. Is the money in place for it to be done now? Because we were waiting for the 106 money from 100 Bishops.
Is this the second phase of the ramp removal?
This is the second phase of the ramp removal. We have some money from a section 106 that was actually at Broadgate, where we negotiated it could be spent over a wider area, and that has been approved for the use within the Middlesex Street area. When we were looking at the project for the removal of the ramps, we were actually using section 106 that had already been received, and we had a bit of a delay in just making sure we could actually line that up. But this is a different pot of funding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Any other questions before? Thank you. Gentlemen who have finished, please feel free to go rather than... Which brings me to poor old Lachlan, who was not expecting to be here tonight, who is covering for Mike Saunders, but has gallantly sat here patiently, longing to speak to you all. So, he's looking at me. Now, actually, very recently we had a very, very successful drop-in session where residents could come and talk to staff about the major works. So there may not be very much that you haven't had answered, but Lachlan will do his best to answer anything you've got.
Yeah, as Jackie said, we had an open day recently. It was quite well attended. I'm really just going to recap what was said at this open day. On your chairs, I've left an update which runs through all the projects that we've got. So I'm just going to read through this really, and if anyone's got any questions, I'll be happy to answer them if I can, or take away the question and come back to you. Firstly, the rewiring of the estate. That is to look at the landlords and tenants rewiring. At the moment, we are in the process of getting a consultant in to have a good look at the wiring. That is now in the procurement process to do that. I can't give you any definite dates of when that will be. Procurement is a bit of a law unto itself at the moment. But I would hope that that will be late spring that we're going to have a consultant on board. It is a bit of a process and we have to just go through it. As I said, that is going to be the landlord's mains and into tenanted properties. We'll give more information on these as we go along. I'm mindful it is quite late tonight. Everyone really wants to get home, don't they?
And we will be doing consultation on each of the projects, so that there will be lots and lots of information.
We will be keeping people informed, certainly. We will always have somebody at this meeting to address residents. Heating and ventilation, we're doing these as a sort of joint one at the moment. The report to take this forward is in committee. It's been passed for the initial stages and is due to go through the second gateway later on this month. What that means is that we will then be in a position to put the brief out, the brief is more or less written, to brief out to the consultants so they can come in and start to have a look at the current systems of heating and ventilation on the estate, and from there draw up various options which we will then put before committee. Again, as Jackie has said, these will be open to consultation. The sort of options we're looking at is it the right thing to continue with a communal heating system? Do we want to put in individual systems? Are there any other options that we can look at? Nothing's been decided. These are the options that our consultant is going to look at and make recommendations for.
So I'm assuming that one option would be then to do nothing at all. Or was that not an option?
If the heating is found to be of a reasonable standard, and they say, yeah, well, it can be brought back up to a decent standard by repairing it, then we might, that will be put before committee, yeah. The windows, this relates just to Petticoat Tower and the balcony doors. As you will see on here, again, there are a survey of options to replace the balcony doors and windows with double or triple glazing, sealing the gap, and creating a winter garden. I think that just means to enclose the balconies even more, but keep them separate from the main part of the flat.
Let's put the window in, is it?
Sorry?
Is that a window or just seat?
Yeah, no, putting a window in there, yeah.
So would it not be cheaper to not replace the balcony and just remove them? For the people who want it, obviously.
We're talking about Petticoat Tower?
Yeah.
It could be one of these options that could be looked at, yeah. Sure, yeah.
And
sorry, can I just take it? I just want to make sure I've got this one. So what exactly are you saying, Mr.
Instead of replacing the balcony and putting a window in, put a window in and remove the balcony and just make good the floor. And
make it part of the living room, yeah?
And we'll set our own carpets as long as we've got a flat floor. So you'll have to get...
I know a couple of flats have done that.
So
I
as
think
I
there's a couple
say,
that have done that already,
I think for those who want it.
We can explore the option. We,
Yeah, you can certainly put that in. I've made a note of that, yeah. I'm sorry.
The other comment I would like to make is, because of the messing about with split between phase 2 and phase 3, people on the square have got 3 doors, and you're talking about putting in doors, and we're going to have to pay for it.
I don't know what the funding is, to be quite honest. I mean, I know there might be some money left over from the Minerva project. I really don't know. I'm sorry. All I can do is just double check on that. I did see something about this, but I didn't see anything.
Even doors are
The remaining funds for section 106 money from developments will not be a key factor in affordability. So there might be some money that comes through from this.
Well, that's highly unfair, because we fought for the money for Minerva, the tenants committee at the time.
As I said, I don't know what the situation is.
I know, I just and the square got everything done, and the tower were left
empty, half done.
half done. So that was very unfair.
Leaseholder can let us know that. Who will let us know how to pay?
Well, we won't know yet for our work. You know, we are doing our very best to be as fair as we possibly can to everyone, and use whatever money we can as fairly as possible. We can't go back and undo things we've done. All we can do is do our very best by you in the future, and we are doing that. I can promise you. Can't tell you any more than that now because I don't know anymore.
With respect to the, obviously you've given back the difference between the triple glazing and the what we paid as leaseholders. Why are we getting back the money between the double glazing costs, not actually back to us, but put back into the fund, which was there originally, that effectively has been, I'd say wasted, but it has been wasted, particularly with regard to the Petticoat Tower? So basically, the original costing was for the double glazing.
Yeah.
Someone decided that they wanted to have triple glazing, and they did phase 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So if we'd only just done the double glazing, there would have been a pot left from the original Minerva money.
But we gave you back.
No, you go to that difference between triple glazing cost and what we paid as an excess. Not back to what
No, I thought what we did was calculate what the difference was between double glazing and triple glazing.
And
so you've got the double glazing free, and then we gave you back the extra
but
that
we
you
haven't
paid.
got the double glazing for the balcony.
And we're going to do what we can with any money that's left.
Sorry, my understanding is you gave us back the difference between the triple glazing. What was actually the cost of the works minus
but we never had the double glazing.
Minus the Minerva cost, and then whatever we paid, all of us individually as leaseholders,
as
we
the
got that
extra
difference
so that
back.
you got triple glazing. That was that
we
was
didn't get
my understanding.
In the tower, only half the windows have been done.
Yeah.
We don't have new front doors because we were told it's going to be part of the cladding.
Yeah, absolutely.
So effectively, you have a 2-bedroom flat in the tower or a 2-bedroom flat in the square.
Yeah.
The tower has half glazed, no front door.
Yeah.
The one in the square has.
And that's what we're trying to address now. That's this
But
next
what I'm
phase of
asking
work.
is the difference between the double glazing, which we would have all paid for, but it was covered by the Minerva money.
But you didn't. You got it free.
But there would have been a balance left because it was only £1 million, and they gave us £1.4 million.
Okay. So
Obviously,
my
you
understanding
say
is that it's exactly okay. I think I've got you now. That money is exactly what we think we've got left that we hope to plough back in.
I don't think. How can you have it left?
Well, there is certainly a
Okay, well, can I talk to your officers about it?
Not tonight, but let's make an
I'll send you an
arrangement.
email.
That's absolutely fine. Yeah. No, we'll try. We are doing our very best to try and work this out.
I think what we're trying to say though is it's become an unfair situation because we've got some flats that have been done, some haven't, and the ones that are going to be done in Petticoat's Tower now, you're asking us if there isn't going to be enough money there, we're going to have to make a contribution. We already had £2 million from next door, it's gone.
We'll try and sort out until it's all clarified on the
Yeah.
funding and take it off from there. Sorry, I'm very patient, sorry about that.
Okay. Can I just make a point and make sure this is absolutely clear? Individual flat holders, leaseholders and tenants may want different options for the windows in the Petticoat Tower. Not everyone will necessarily want the same thing.
No, that's right. And so if we can build in choice, we will. That may not be possible in terms of expense, but if we can, we will.
But that would be desirable.
Yeah, I'll note that down. That's a very good point. Thank you. Okay, the lifts, it's really as it says there, lift conditions are being assessed, and we're getting technical advice from our contractor to confirm if these are moving forward. I know there have been issues with the lifts breaking down, but the general feeling is that the lifts are in a fairly reasonable condition. We will continue to monitor it and see if we can, if it is moving on that they do need to be brought forward, we will do that.
I think part of the problem that is still not reporting the faults fully and properly, and the maintenance company not coming round and doing just the simple things like replacing bulbs on the call buttons on the landings. You never know if you press the button or not because the lights don't work.
Quite right.
And the whole lack of effort on the maintenance company and on the estate staff not reporting the problems properly is why the lifts weren't working for years. I notice now that they're cleaning these sliders more often because all of a sudden they notice after how many years of having lifts that they're supposed to be cleaned every week.
But they're doing it. So
Yeah,
that's
they're doing
good,
it now,
isn't
but
it?
how many years
Real
were they not
positive
doing
there.
it when they should have been? But the point is, the maintenance company is still not doing the work properly, and they're not being chased up on it.
I
on
have
the
to
estate
say
stuff.
something. They were here today, two very nice young men, and the problem was with the board that was being replaced in the lift, the buttons didn't fit because we have an old system.
That's why they're changing the board. They're changing the whole
Right,
thing.
but they brought the board and they couldn't fit it because the buttons didn't fit.
Still
Because,
good. Still good.
so they have to take the board away again and try and do something because, as they said, although it doesn't seem a long time, 10, 15 years, they're all out of date.
Technology
So you
is very
can't,
fast.
they can't get the replacement.
Yeah, technology has moved on.
Yeah.
It's
So,
just
I mean-
fact of life, yeah.
And we're about 25 years old or something.
I think it's about 96, 97, 98, around there. Yeah. All I can say is if there are problems with the lift, if you see something in there, bring up our repairs hotline to report them. And
a survey of every floor and all the buttons on the floor would be useful. Someone goes to the top floor and pushes them all and takes a record of which ones don't light up, because I think a lot of them don't.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, I'll take
that's
that.
Very simple to do.
We can get the estate staff to do that. Yeah,
You
thank
can do
you.
that, yeah? Okay.
And another thing, Paul talking about the lifts, because today there was only one in service and it was recycling day.
I know.
We came back at 12 o'clock after Pilates, and I think in the end there were 20 people waiting for the lift.
20 fit people.
Yeah. So if it happens, can you change the recycling day?
We'll
Or-
try and be more coordinated when works go on there, so it's
Yeah,
not-
it
not-
would
not
help.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that
that's
makes
a good
sense.
point.
We were talking about that today in the office actually, with some material stuff.
Could I also ask Paul that if somebody reports that one of the lifts has gone out of order, that someone from the office immediately comes down and takes that out of commission, because that allows a second lift to go up and down normally. But if it's stuck at the ground floor, you can't call it the other one down to ground
It's
floor
as if it lies on the
because
ground
they don't
floor.
work. You have to wait till someone else to call it and get in. If it's in the evening and there's not many people up and down, you have to wait ages.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, that's possible, isn't it, Tom? Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
We're going to do something about the lift, both of them working together.
I thought we discussed with Bob West last time, didn't we? Yeah, having them working independently from one another. So yeah, that's enough. Because if that did break that, then you've got stuff to put out with. So.
Let's get Bob back to the next meeting as well.
And I mentioned to Bob about the your thoughts about the maintenance contract as well, next time I see you. Concrete testing and repairs, due to be, we're just going through the last stages of the procurement now, and as it says, we'll to start in May and June. Excuse me. We will obviously write to residents, let you know more about what's going on, about what's to be done where and when. So it is a case of just watch your space for the next few months. The Redex, you're going to be consulted on this very soon with regards to what is to be done and where. And once that is done, then we can start to look around at procurement options. Depending on the cost of this, this could take some time. On the back of this sheet, you will see a coloured one here, which sort of gives estimates for all these works. So, having said that, I've just looked at the cost for Middlesex Redex and it says to be confirmed. So I think that is obviously to do with the survey. Once the survey is done, we'll have more of an idea of the costs are there and what's to be done. I stand to be corrected on this, but the feeling is that we will have a look at the estate and pinpoint the areas that really need to be done as a priority, take it on from there, and then move it on to the less prioritised areas.
Yeah, there were people present here this evening who were at the Leaseholders Association meeting the other night, and redecoration, and in particular entrance ways and improvement of those, top priority.
You mean the lobbies and stairwells?
Absolutely.
Not so much the
And
stairwells,
absolute
just the
top
lobbies.
priority.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as it says here, we I think I saw something about the lobby somewhere else.
It's on your other.
Okay, yeah, great, thank you.
But
Yeah,
for us,
so there is. I mean, it has been noticed.
concrete testing and just about anything else. We have poor entrance ways around this place. They're disgraceful.
Okay, fair enough. Yes.
And on that point, I mean, you said the survey's not terrible made. If we bring that forward, I mean, it's not, redecoration isn't something that's new on the agenda. We've been hanging off because of phase 1.
I'll speak to my
phase
colleague.
2, 3, or
Sure, I'll speak to my colleague who's doing this.
I was told back in October that you prioritise that one.
Yeah, and we have been asking to prioritise it. It is partly to do with trying to bring contracts together to get from all estates to keep costs down. So, and unfortunately, Mike Saunders, who is our asset manager, is ill tonight and simply couldn't be here. So please don't take it out on Lachlan. We will raise that and again. And honestly, I have begged colleagues and said I'm willing to put my overalls on and go and paint some of those
Offered to do
flowers.
that.
But I can absolutely see that that for our maintenance sector is not an appropriate solution. We need to get it done properly, and you're right, as soon as possible.
Yeah, I will speak to my colleague about that and see if you can bring it forward at all. Yeah.
We'll feed that back again.
Sorry, can I do?
Lachlan, can I ask a question about a different aspect of decoration? I've been approached by 2 or 3 ladies recently who asked about having the walls of their flats actually redecorated. They're people who would probably qualify under the scheme for having their flats repainted. I'm told that actually happens on a 5-yearly basis. If these tenants feel that their flats need repainting, what do they need to do?
The first instance should really be to go through to the estate office and then to Paul, and Paul will then refer it to the people in our department to do it.
And can they have it done?
I can't answer that, I don't know.
I've got a list of all of the blocks that we have on all of our estates, and when it comes up each year for them to be decorated, they've got to meet certain criteria. If they think they may be eligible for whatever reason, because they want it done, because they're elderly or benefits disabled,
they fit.
Contact me, I'll write to them and say when they'll be eligible, and we go through everyone that year in those blocks to make sure they hit all the criteria, and then we contact them.
Because one lady said that leaflet used to go out if your term was coming up, and she said that she hadn't seen any leaflets go out, and she thought that she was due.
Is this an elderly pensioner?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it has changed over the last few years, and it is different. It's, as Paul says, I think it's now it's done very much on a basis that they're recognised every 5 years or so, and that's the way it's done now, rather than perhaps a more ad hoc or first come first served basis that might have been in the past.
So anybody who's a person who fits the bill, who thinks that their flat could do with being repainting, just needs to get in touch with Paul. And
I'll let them know if they're eligible and when they're.
Paul will tell them whether they're eligible. He won't necessarily. They have to fit the scheme and it has to be the right time, but he's their first port of call and then he will tell them. I am really going to have to wind this meeting up. We have gone on another half an hour. I will take a question from the lady at the back there because you've been waiting a while.
Can I just say that there's no point in redecorating all the walls and all the lobbies and everything if the concrete and all the other stuff has been done, because it always seems in the city that you make it look nice and then you bring somebody in that's going.
And that will be one of the things our colleagues are factoring in when they're trying to work out the order of it.
Yeah, because there's lots
No, you're absolutely right.
Lots of flats that
Yeah, the concrete.
No, you're
Yeah,
right.
the concrete is urgent. I mean, excuse me, is a safety issue, and that's why it's down to be starting May or June. So that will certainly precede any redecoration works.
Sorry, just one quick question about the survey for the wiring.
Yeah.
This will purely be just for tenants flats. You're not going to involve leaseholders in having our wiring checked?
No, it's down to leaseholders to check. They have their own wiring checked.
But just to be for continuity,
Yeah.
for everyone to be the same. No.
Well, I mean,
We do it
that's,
ourselves.
the wiring within those flats will have to meet the, I think it's called the 7th edition of the electrical regs. We will write to residents with more information about that and what they need to do. Sorry, to leaseholders about
Yes,
that.
yeah.
But essentially, the onus will be on leaseholders to make sure that a wiring is going to be compatible with the new wiring that goes in.
The point is that some councils can speak to the contractors, and when they come in to do the residence flat, leaseholders can pay for the contractor.
So there's continuity.
And we sometimes offer that if we can. If we can build it into contracts, we do.
Yeah, I mean, there's something you can talk about. That particular route can be fraught with very difficulties, particularly redecoration and what people expect from that. But that's another conversation.
Along the
Yeah.
lines of the electrical rewiring,
Yes,
where I've seen
that's-
it done quite often.
That was about it. CCTV has been talked about. Front doors of Petticoat Tower. Surveys to be taken later on this summer.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Can I thank you all for coming?